the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration Manual.
Is it a lawsuit? Probably. Why not?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up, It's the Law. Today we are going to do something that we haven't done in a very long time. I was originally planning on doing this last year, but unfortunately it never came to fruition for one reason or another. Those of you who are regular followers know what I'm talking about. However, we are going to resume in anticipation of the new trial that is going to begin on April 1st, Commonwealth versus Karen Read in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We are actually going to restart some of the key witnesses in the first trial. And we're going to start with Brian Higgins. For those of you who are regular followers of this channel, know that I have a whole series already on my channel from last year's trial, namely the opening statements of David Yannetti and the closing arguments by Alan Jackson. And also, not only that, I also have the cross-examination of Jennifer McCabe, and I have a series on the cross-examination of Trooper Proctor. I will include the links in the description below if you want to go check those out. Oh my God, you guys, they're so juicy. And this is going to give us an opportunity to be able to, compare and contrast on what sort of things they're going to say in this trial, and are they going to contradict themselves? Because this trial is going to be filled with impeachments, you guys. Impeachments are going to be a dime a dozen, and it is absolutely going to be amazing to watch. What do I mean by impeachments? When you have a witness who has given a sworn statement under oath, and now they are giving another sworn statement under oath, and those two statements are contradictory and they don't match, what happens? You can impeach them. You can go back to the Old Testimony and say, this is not what you said 10 months ago when you testified in this case previously, have you? Or you have given testimony previously, have you? Because you don't want to tip the jury off that there has been a previous trial, which I don't know where they're going to find 14, 16, 18 people that have absolutely been living under a rock and have absolutely no clue about anything regarding this trial, who have not been reading the papers, who have not been watching the news, who have not been reading anything on the internet, who have not been following anything on X, who have not been following anything on YouTube like this channel. So I guess we'll see. I mean, it's not up to us. It's up to Auntie Bev and her crew to try and find an unbiased jury with the help of the defense, of course, and we'll see where it goes. So without further ado, I bring you the cross-examination of Brian Higgins by none other than Alan Jackson. Let's go.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Who did you come here today with, Mr. Higgins?
Who did I travel to the courthouse with?
Who did you meet here?
An attorney, my attorney.
Is there a reason that you felt compelled to bring an attorney with you for your testimony as a witness in a homicide investigation?
By the way, right out of the gate, Alan Jackson is throwing punches. He's throwing haymaker right out of the gate. That is a way to get the witness rattled, off their footing, and especially a witness you know is going to be lying through their teeth as they testify in anticipation of their lies. You want to just make sure that they're as uncomfortable as possible. So by leading with the question of, you came here with your lawyer, sir. Oh, yeah, I came here with my lawyer. It seems innocuous, but the jury's like, why would a witness need to bring a lawyer? See? Right out of the gate. It's a very good defense tactic.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Trial, I should say.
Sustained.
You brought your attorney with you who's sitting right behind you, correct?
That is not my attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were his attorney. My mistake. Where is your attorney?
I don't know. He might be in the courthouse.
Is he in the building?
I don't know where he physically is right now.
Okay. Without telling me anything that you said to your attorney, did you meet with him this morning before your testimony?
Yes.
Did you meet with him during the break? Again, don't tell me what you talked about, but did you meet with him during the break when we took a break a few minutes ago?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And obviously the subject matter, again, without telling me any communication, the subject matter was your testimony here today, correct?
No.
How many conversations have you had with Mr. Lally about your testimony or your proposed testimony in anticipation of you testifying today?
One.
When was that?
That was on Monday.
How long was that conversation?
I would say under an hour and a half.
In person or over the phone?
In person.
Where was that conversation?
That was at the DA's office.
Who else was there?
My attorney, victim witness advocate. I believe her name is Kristen Collins, ADA McLaughlin, ADA Lally, and Lieutenant Brian Tully from the Mass State Police.
Anybody taking notes?
I did not. I don't know if anybody was taking notes.
Well, you were sitting there watching Lieutenant Tully. Did he take notes?
Not that I saw, no.
So you had an hour and a half long conversation with the prosecution team and a police officer witness, and you're telling me that you did not see anybody taking a single note down. Is that right?
That's correct. I did hand something to Lieutenant Tully, but he didn't take any notes in reference to what I handed him.
What'd you hand him?
I handed him a piece of mail that I got at my residence.
Oh, really?
Anything having to do with this case?
Well, I believe so.
Was that turned over to Mr. Lally?
No, I turned it over to State Police.
Your Honor, may we approach for a second?
Yes.
Okay, wait a second. I don't understand. He is receiving something in the mail and he's turning it over to state police instead of turning it over to the prosecution if it's related to this case?
Other than that piece of mail that you handed to Lieutenant Tully, was there any other exchange of documents or anything like that? Have you shown anything in anticipation of your testimony?
The only thing I can be recalled showing was a photograph of the exterior of 34 Fairview Road in Canton.
What about the text messages that you just went over extensively? Were you shown those?
I was shown a pile of papers, and I was advised that those text messages were going to be, they were put into another format so they were easier to read.
And these are the screenshots that you've just described on the exhibit.
Well, as I said, he showed me the stack, said they were the text messages. They were in a different format, but I'm assuming that's what they were.
What was your assignment with the ATF back in 2022?
I was assigned to the Bridgewater Field Office, but I was full-time with the United States Marshal Service doing fugitive apprehension.
And where were you physically officing out of?
Well, I continue to maintain the office at Canton PD.
Okay, but to be clear, you were a federal officer, not a Canton police officer on some sort of a task force with Canton PD, correct?
No, I was not on a task force with Canton PD.
But you did have an office at Canton PD based on a personal relationship that you had with the chief, correct? He gave you this office as a courtesy, is that right?
So if I can explain,
Yes.
Of course you're going to need to explain that. You're given an office at Canton PD as a courtesy. Why would you be receiving that? Why do you need one? That's a little suspect. And Alan Jackson is doing a great job pointing that out. Now, of course he wants to explain it.
Yes or no? Was it provided as a courtesy?
well, working partnership, I would say.
And by the way, for the record, Alan Jackson does not have to give him any opportunity to explain himself. This is Alan Jackson's cross-examination. He gets to ask the questions. It's a yes or no. If you want to clarify anything on redirect examination with the prosecutor, Mr. Lally, you are welcome to do it, sir. This is not the time to try. Sometimes judges will be like, yes, I will allow him to explain because maybe the question is a little bit more misleading or leading or whatever that could confuse the jury. But for the most part, judges are fairly lenient, except for this judge, unfortunately. You can always, it's called curing the witness. Whatever damaging information you may have elicited out of them on cross-examination, the prosecution is always welcome to cure it on direct.
You asked that specific question in a prior hearing, correct?
Yes.
In June of 2023, right?
Yes.
And you explained, look, there was a personal relationship that I had with Chief Berkowitz.
I did.
It was born out of
Tragedy.
a family tragedy that he was aware of.
Horrible tragedy, yes.
And based on that personal friendship and that personal relationship, he offered you the convenience of officing out of Canton PD.
I would say that's a good summary.
And in addition to just having an office there, you also had a key card access, correct?
I did, to get in and out.
What was the name that you used? You said it was a proxy card?
I think it's called, I think in the IT world, it's probably called a proxy card. That's what I know it to be.
So you had both a physical office and full access to Canton PD, all based on the friendship and relationship and convenience, the friendship and relationship you had with Chief Berkowitz and the convenience that he wanted to give you for having that office there, correct?
No, I wouldn't say full access. I had access to certain areas within the department.
Well, you certainly had access to and from your office.
Yes,
You had ingress and egress to the Canton Police Department.
yes,
You could go in and out of the Sallyport.
I could.
You could go upstairs to Chief Berkowitz's office.
Yes,
You could go downstairs to the dispatch area, which is on the first floor, correct?
yes,
And then you could go out to the Sallyport, into the Sallyport, across that garage, those 2 bay doors, at your leisure.
Well, that would exclude the evidence room, the arms room, and places like that. I didn't have access to those places.
Right. But the place
See, Alan Jackson is trying to paint the fact that Brian Higgins had immense access to various parts of the department, which he didn't even belong to. That's very important to show that a witness could be tainted, biased, controlled, manipulated, manipulative, etc.
places that I just mentioned you did have access to.
Yes, absolutely.
You'd had that office for what? Back in January of 2022. Probably had that office for more than what, 3 years?
I would estimate probably sometime around 2018.
2018. Okay,
Yeah.
not 18 years. 2018.
No, 2018, I'm sorry.
Okay.
My apologies.
So, yeah, maybe close to 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. I want to turn your attention, Mr. Higgins, to January 28, January 29, 2022. By the way, I should ask another foundational question. Are you currently still at ATF?
Am I employed by ATF?
Correct.
Yes, I am, a special agent, yes.
And what is your current billet or your assignment?
Objection.
Is that something you're free to discuss?
I'm assigned to division operations at this time.
Okay, what does that mean? You're taken out of the field?
Was I taken out of the field? Yes.
Are you no longer in the field?
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike.
Sustained.
It's relevant, though.
You may be able to come back to this.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to turn your attention now to January.
No, notice how uncomfortable he's getting because he knows. He knows if he has been taken out of the field, then he must have done something wrong. That's the implication. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. If it smells like that, then it probably happened and the jury will pick up on it. And he's got all the telltale signs of, shifting uncomfortably. He furrowed his eyebrows. He was very uncertain in his body language. Yeah, he didn't like that question at all.
January 28, 29 of 2022. You recall those dates?
I do,
You've been living with those dates for the last couple of years.
like a nightmare.
John O'Keefe's body was found outside your friend Brian Albert's house on the morning of January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes,
You've previously testified that on January 28th, you had gone to New York for this memorial service, correct?
funeral service, yes.
The funeral service, not the memorial, you separate the two?
So, well, the wake would be the night before, funeral, I call them the services. It wasn't a memorial. Memorial to me would be more of like an annual thing. This was the services.
Understood.
Just want to be clear.
So you went with Brian Albert, Kevin Albert, and Eddie Hernandez, is that right?
I traveled down there myself, but I met up with them.
To go to the services?
Yes,
Is it fair to say that you and Brian Albert and Kevin Albert sort of run in the same social and professional circles?
I mean, without speaking for anybody else, I think we know a lot of the same people.
Go to some of the same holiday parties, for instance?
Yes,
Go to some of the same events, whether they're law enforcement events or otherwise?
retirement parties, yes, things like that.
Might meet up at a bar and have a social drink together?
Yes,
Might share a meal together, correct?
yes,
And you would agree that you particularly are pretty well connected to the Canton law enforcement community?
could you qualify that, explain that?
You know quite a few cops, right?
Well, it's a small department, so I do know everybody in the building in some capacity.
Okay, so my question is, you know quite a few cops in Canton.
I do,
You're pretty good friends with, as a matter of fact, maybe best friends with the chief of police, former chief of police, Kenny Berkowitz, correct?
yes,
You know Brian Albert, he's a Boston police officer.
yes,
You know his brother and work with his brother at Canton PD, correct?
yes,
So it's fair to say, back to my original question, you're relatively well connected in the law enforcement community, the fabric of that community in Canton. Is that right?
That's exactly what you do. When you have a witness that is not willing to admit basic facts, you break it down. So, oh, you're not well connected? Okay, you know him? Yeah. You know him? Yeah. And her? Yeah. And her? Yeah. And him? Yeah. And you guys hang out? Yeah. And we go to the bar? Yeah. And you chit chat? Yeah. So you're fairly connected. Well, now that hesitation is diluted. Great job, Alan.
well, I think that comes with working with people, yes,
Is that yes or no?
yes,
Okay.
Oh, now we got a
As a matter
yes.
of fact, you've even given a personal toast at one of these events, these retirement events, et cetera, correct?
Chief Berkowitz, yes.
And during the course of that toast, you even said, if you want to hide a body, Kenny Berkowitz is your man, correct?
Objection.
Did
That
you
was a
say
joke.
that? Did you say that?
I don't recall that.
You don't remember telling that joke in front of a room full of folks?
I don't.
If you want to hide a body, Kenny Berkowitz is your man?
I don't.
You will agree that
What a liar.
some of your closest friends are some of the more powerful people in Canton in terms of politics and law enforcement, right?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
At that same retirement dinner, there were members of the DA's office there, correct?
Yes,
As a matter of fact, the DA, Michael Morrissey, was there.
I believe he was at one point.
All right. And that was the same event that you gave either a keynote speech or some sort of a speech for Chief Berkowitz's retirement. Is that right?
Yes.
How long have you known Brian Albert specifically?
I think I had some interaction with him when I was on the Cambridge Fire Department in my capacity in fire investigations. And then I would say pretty much through my entire career at ATF, you know, I came into contact with Brian.
Give me a number of years.
Well, I've been with ATF now for 15 years. I've probably known him at least that whole time.
You'd say that you have both a social and professional working relationship with him?
I would say yes, he's a friend.
More connections. Remember, the Alberts house is in front of which John O'Keefe's body was found.
Frequently drink together?
We have drank together. I wouldn't say frequently, but yes, we've drank together.
Break bread together, have meals together?
Absolutely had lunch.
As a matter of fact, you were asked at a prior hearing whether or not you could put a number on the number of times that you've had drinks with Brian Albert, and you said somewhere around 50 or something like that? Or under, actually you said under 50?
Under 50, I think I might have said 30.
And that was in 2 years, correct?
Yes.
So not under 50 in the entirety of your relationship, a 15-year relationship with Brian Albert, literally in the prior 2 years when you gave your testimony in June of 2023. In those 2 years, met up with him and had drinks under 50 times.
Was that a question?
Yes,
Well, could you rephrase it?
sure. Is it true that you testified, answer, quote, I mean, in 2 years, I mean, maybe under 50? End quote. That was your testimony to how often you socialized with Brian Albert, correct?
So we socialized more when I started working with his unit.
Okay, so my question is, well,
I don't know the exact number, but yes, we socialized, absolutely.
that's all I was getting at.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, there's no secrets here. He's my friend.
Mr. Higgins, let me ask the questions. I get it.
That's fine.
I get it.
You see how rattled Brian Higgins is getting? You see how on edge he is? He's trying to like explain. Listen, let me explain. He's like, no explanation, sir. This is my turn. I am the one asking questions.
You also know Brian Albert well enough to know what his relationship with, for instance, the other guy that you traveled back from New York with, Eddie Hernandez.
I do know Eddie Hernandez. I actually know Eddie the longest out of everybody.
So you knew Eddie, our Officer Hernandez,
Objection,
before
Your
you ever
Honor.
knew.
Ask the question.
You knew Officer Hernandez before you ever knew Brian Albert.
Yes,
You knew him before you even knew Kevin Albert.
yes,
And you're aware that there was a physical altercation
Objection,
between
Your Honor.
Brian Albert and Eddie Hernandez that you're aware of, correct?
The objection sustained.
Are you aware that Brian Albert had gotten into a fist fight with Eddie Hernandez?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you at a Christmas party when that happened?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained is to that form. You can be specific, though.
Have you ever been at an event with Brian Albert and Eddie Hernandez and seen them fight?
Objection.
N.
Christmas 5 years or so before 2022.
Okay, the objection sustained.
You do know that Brian Albert has a reputation for being a fighter.
Objection.
Sustained.
You were asked in a formal interview, do you recall, I want to make sure I'm clear about some of your prior statements. You had a formal interview with some folks prior to your testimony at a prior proceeding. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I'm tracking.
Okay. At the formal interview, which is what I'm going to call that,
Okay,
the formal interview, you were asked about Brian Albert and his reputation, were you not? Yes or no?
Yes.
You indicated in that formal interview that even Chief Berkowitz was
Objection.
quote, a little afraid of Brian Albert.
All right, so that is the objection sustained. That's stricken. I'll see you at sidebar.
All right, these sidebars. Jackson is trying to get very specific testimony. The prosecutor is not liking it, so he keeps objecting. He thinks it's not relevant. We think it's relevant as heck. But, and I say we, I'm lumping myself in with the defense there. It's you'll see.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. You're also relatively close friends. In addition to being close friends with Brian Albert, you're also relatively close friends with his brother, Kevin, correct?
I am.
Kevin Albert is a detective with the Canton Police Department, is that right?
Yes.
And you've worked in the same physical office with him for a number of years?
Physical building.
Physical building, that's a better way to put it.
It's different.
Is that right?
Yes.
And it's fair to say that you've consulted with Kevin Albert on certain of his cases professionally, is that right?
I've assisted.
And you've also socialized with him, shared drinks with him,
Yes,
gone out to bars with him, is that right?
Yes, I have.
It's fair to say that you know the Albert family relatively well.
I would say that I know Brian and Kevin the best.
On January 28th, you drove...
But that's not a no. Even though it's not a yes, it's also not a no. Notice the interesting way that he answered the question. He knows them the best, but he never said like, oh, but I don't know so-and-so, or I do know so-and-so as well. He just said, well, those two I know the best. Very sneaky answer. Very, very sneaky answer.
your Jeep Wrangler to the Hillside Bar to meet up with Brian Albert for drinks, correct?
I did.
Oh, listen to this.
You said you drank 3 to 4 whiskey sodas at the Hillside, is that right?
It'd be Jameson and ginger, not whiskey soda.
My mistake. Jameson and ginger. Jameson is Irish whiskey,
It is.
and ginger is ginger ale?
Yes.
Okay. What was Brian Albert drinking?
If I was to guess, a beer.
I don't want you to guess. Do you know what he was drinking?
No, I don't.
He was drinking
He was
something?
drinking something.
Okay, alcoholic.
Yes.
You two were probably going round for round. In other words, finish a drink, get another round for the two of you, finish it, get another round.
I don't think we... No, I wouldn't say we were going round for round.
So he was nursing 1 beer while you had 4 Jamesons?
Well, it would have taken... Say that again?
He was nursing 1 beer while you had 4 Jamesons? When you sat?
No, he was probably... Maybe he had more beers than I had Jamesons is more what I would say.
Okay, so maybe he had 5 or 6 beers while you had 4 Jamesons.
I'm not going to put a number on it because I don't know.
But it was more.
More than what?
More than you.
Maybe. He wasn't there that long.
Well, it doesn't take that long to drink a beer, does it? I mean, if you're sort of thirsty and in a hurry.
Is that a question?
Everything I say up here is a question.
Okay.
Just presume.
All right. So
Well, that wasn't, so.
Oh my God. Okay, Auntie Bev, I'll give you that one.
Mr. Higgins, that was a question.
All right, let me put a question mark at the end of that.
okay.
Your memory that Brian Albert had more drinks than you did when you had those 3 to 4 Jameson and Gingers.
To be honest with you, I wasn't keeping track.
He left Hillside and you stayed, correct?
For a short time, yes.
You later changed your mind and ultimately decided to go to the waterfall. You finished whatever you're eating or drinking and decided to go over to the waterfall, right?
Yes, because I'm always saying I'm going to show up and then I kind of do the Irish exit. So I decided it was a long day, it was an emotional day, and I decided to join them.
Did you drive your vehicle over there
Yes, I did.
after having as many as 4 whiskeys?
Yes.
Oh.
Brian Albert, did he drive himself?
Well, I didn't see him. I dropped him off in
Drinking and driving.
Boston PD district down there in Charlestown, and I'm assuming he drove back towards that way to meet me.
He wasn't with anybody else.
Not that I know of.
So he was drinking at the Hillside Bar and then got in his car and drove over to the waterfall as well.
I didn't see him drive over, but I assume that's what he did, yes.
You went to John O'Keefe's house. I'm going to shift gears for a second. You went to John O'Keefe's house at some point to watch the Patriots game on January 16th, right?
Yes.
That was the time when you indicated that when you left, Karen gave you a kiss goodbye, correct?
Yes.
It's safe to say that that was not some hot, passionate long kiss, but you think it was more than just a friendly peck, correct?
I wouldn't describe it as a peck. I'd describe it as more than friends. It was a kiss.
Well, you did describe it as a peck, didn't you?
When?
When you texted Karen Reed and she said it was just a peck, and then you texted back, I agree.
Figure of speech.
Or the truth, right?
Figure of speech.
After that incident, it's safe to say, we've just gone through a number of them, you exchanged flirtatious texts with Miss Reed, is that right?
Is the incident you're referring to when she kissed me?
No, I'm saying after that. After that incident, yes, after the Patriots game,
Okay, yep,
you exchanged flirtatious texts
we did.
with Miss Reed.
I did.
And that was over the course of a few weeks, a couple of weeks, but just 9 days. Is that right?
So it was between the January 12th and I would say before the 28th, because the 28th, she didn't respond, and the 29th, she sent that last text that John died.
Well,
Those
actually,
weren't,
you've looked at the text, right?
I have.
You just looked at the last couple of texts.
I did.
The last text that she sent of any substance was January 23rd, right? Almost a
Well,
week.
I think the text,
Almost a
I think the
week.
text on the 29th, John died, there's substance there.
Okay, I'm not suggesting, I'm talking about after you said,
Look at how panicked he looks. Like right there in that moment, you can see the fear in his eyes. I completely forgot about this. I mean, look at his eyes. They look like they are petrified, horrified. The fact that he has to testify to all of this, it's not because he is so upset over John O'Keefe's death. He had some involvement, and he is afraid not to say the wrong thing because he's now under oath, under cross-examination by one of the best trial lawyers in the country, and he's under a microscope. That's why he's afraid. So telling.
Yeah.
28, right? The text of substance between the two of you, talking between the two of you, not the John died text. That substance ended on the 23rd, didn't it?
I'd have to have the text in front of me to agree with you.
I think it's right here, Mr. Jackson, right in front of the exhibits right there.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, are you directing me to the 23rd?
I'm directing you to the last page. Just look at everything on it and just tell me if that refreshes your recollection. This is the last substantive text about you and Karen before your well.
Yes, it'd be the 23rd at 9:40.
Okay? Yes. Thank you. So it was 9 days of texting between the two of you, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And aside from the kiss goodbye, you two never had any sort of physical contact with one another.
Do you mean intimate when you say physical?
Correct.
Yes.
I'm not talking about shaking her hand, Mr. Higgins.
Well, I want to answer your question truthfully.
I would like you to, too. You didn't have any physical, intimate contact with Miss Reed, correct?
No, I did not.
There was no other hugs or kisses or certainly no sex.
No.
And when she said, I'm glad you came over tonight, in one of those texts that you just read a few minutes ago, she was referring to the Patriots game with John there and a big crowd there, correct?
Yes.
Over the course of that week or so, Ms. Reed did explain her feelings about her relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, correct? In text messages.
During the pendency of our communication, she did express, yes.
And she indicated that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating someone, et cetera. We saw those texts, is that right?
Yes.
She also indicated that in terms of the situation in Aruba, she was upset by that, but it's not that big a deal, correct?
It was clear to me she was upset.
And she said, I don't care too much about that other girl, right?
Well, at least that's what she said in text, yes.
That's what I'm asking you. Is that what she said in text, Mr. Higgins? It's not a trick question.
That's what she said in text.
Right. She said something along the lines of,
Here come the sirens.
I'm just trying to be realistic. there's cracks in the relationship. It's far from perfect. Is that right?
For those of you who have not watched the first trial, it's like thematic. There are periodic sirens, police sirens in the back, and it's just very intentionally coordinated, it feels like, is literally the best way I can describe it.
I think that's something she texted.
All right. And you'll agree that during the course of these texts, you were constantly asking for clarity and explanation from her, were you not?
During our communication, I did ask for clarity.
Many times. You
Yes.
saw it, correct?
Yes.
And she pretty much wouldn't answer you, correct?
She was non-committal, I would say.
Which is why you were saying in your texts, why won't you answer the question? And she would parry and not answer that one either, correct?
Well, I didn't want to be stuck in the middle of anything.
That's not my question. I'm asking you whether or not she would answer your question about clarity specifically.
She avoided questions about text.
Right. And that was frustrating because you were very interested in her romantically at that point, correct?
I was attracted to her. I don't know that I would say very interested in her.
You texted things like, why did you get my number and reach out? That's a quote from the text we just read, correct?
I did ask that, yes.
You said, now what? Is that right?
Yes.
You texted, so now what? Correct?
Yes.
You texted, I would hang out, meaning with you,
Yes.
correct? You were showing interest in her.
Yes.
You were showing romantic interest in her.
I wouldn't say it was romantic. I was trying to vet it out.
Well, you weren't seeing if she wanted to go see a ball game with you as a buddy, right?
Not really, no.
No, you were showing romantic interest in her, weren't you?
I was trying to vet out was her interest in me legitimate. It was very normal for me to have that question in my mind. When I didn't initiate this, she did, and I think it was a fair question just to try to find out.
You were showing romantic interest in Karen Reed, weren't you?
I was interested, but I don't think I was at the romantic phase.
Okay. When I say romantic, well, what do you mean by romantic?
What kind of answer is that? I don't think I was at the... Either I was or I wasn't. He just keeps like flip... I don't know. I mean, I may have... No, not really. But I don't think I was at the romantic phase. That doesn't make any sense. Like, grammatically. Dude, we're talking about you. We're talking about your interest or lack of interest. How do you not know your own self, your own history, your...
Phase.
Sending somebody flowers?
Dating.
Well, there's a difference between dating and hanging out. I mean, it's kind of hard to date somebody when you have a boyfriend.
Mr. Higgins, well, it's not if both people are dating other people, right? Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Well, I think I asked that question too.
Right. That's not my question. My question is, you seem to have a problem admitting that you had a romantic interest in my client. Is there a reason for that?
I was attracted to her.
Right. Physically attracted.
I thought she was an attractive woman.
Romantically attracted.
I'm not going to go there. No, I don't agree with that.
Of course you're not going to go there because that would put you in a very awkward position, wouldn't it, sir?
Objection.
The objection sustained is to the form. You can ask it differently. And
Shots fired!
that answer will be stricken now.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
I'm so sorry. Let me
Yes.
move on.
You were sexually attracted to her.
I was physically attracted to her, yes.
Okay? Sexually attracted to her was my question.
Answer the question.
Well, I think in the text I said you're hot.
Okay? So my question again, Mr. Higgins, you seem to not want to answer my question. My question is, were you or were you not sexually attracted to my client?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Was that so
You
hard?
were saying things like, what do you want from me? And I want the real deal. Those are your words, correct?
Yes.
Ooh.
And the real deal with you would be to date her, to get involved with her, romantically, correct?
No.
The real deal was what? What did you mean by I want the real deal?
Like a relationship.
What kind of relationship? A buddy-buddy relationship? You just want to go like
The same thing everybody wants, a real relationship.
a romantic relationship, Mr. Higgins?
Ah.
It's possible.
Oh.
And she was answering with things like, when you said, now what? She answered, I don't know.
He finally got him. All he had to do was say yeah. The easiest thing on cross-examination when you're like trying to evade an answer, just answer it directly. Because when you don't, the lawyer, an experienced lawyer such as Alan Jackson, is going to have a lot of fun with you. And they're just going to start dancing and dancing and dancing. And then they're going to revisit the question 10 minutes later, and they're going to get you to admit it anyway. Just like what happened here. Brilliant work.
Correct?
Yes, she did.
When you asked, so now what? She answered, I'm sorry, when you said, so now what? She answered, now what? Correct?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't agree with you. If I'd like to see what you're referring to.
Well, you just read it about 10 minutes ago. Would you quarrel if
I know, but you're giving me portions of it.
you were given portions of it by Mr. Lally as well,
Okay.
right? Did you text something like, now what? And she responded something like, now what?
I think on one occasion she did, yes.
Okay.
There you go.
And you remember you just read a text where you texted, what do you want from me? And her responsive text was, I don't know. Correct?
I think that was one of the texts.
Again, with this theme of her being non-committal, one way or the other. Is that right?
Well, that's not how I would interpret it as a theme, no.
Well, didn't you just say she was non-committal? That was your word, not mine.
I did, but as I told you, it's been a process of trying to suss it out and see what this was all about.
Right. So when you were sussing it out and determining whether or not you were going to advance this romantic interest, she was sort of non-committal, wasn't she?
Well, not one person advances it. I think that's a joint thing.
Maybe.
When you texted,
But I will disagree.
you want the real deal, she responded, it doesn't exist, didn't she?
She did, yes.
And she never once in any of those texts expressed anger or hatred toward John O'Keefe, correct?
No, not at all.
Matter of fact, she indicated more of frustration with the immediate family. The kids, she didn't want to have kids.
In its totality, I would say yes.
And then on January 23rd, as you just saw, she just stopped communicating with you altogether, correct?
Until the 29th, yes.
Correct. Do you know what the term ghosted means?
I think I have a general idea, yes.
She sort of ghosted you, didn't she?
I wouldn't agree with that.
That was frustrating to you, that she just stopped communicating, wasn't it?
No, not at all.
You had been moving through this mindset of exploring a romantic interest with a beautiful woman, thought was interested in you, and just like that, it was done, right?
No.
So what communication did you have with her after January 23rd?
Well, she texted me on January 29th.
You keep saying that, but you know what I'm getting to. January 29th was her informing you that a tragedy had occurred. John had died, right? I'm not talking about that, Mr. Higgins, so I don't want to keep playing games.
All right, so that's what we talked about. No more of
Sorry.
that.
After the 23rd,
No more
up
side
to
comments.
The 23rd,
That's the best
she'd
part.
been texting back and forth with you pretty regularly. You just saw it, correct?
She also sent me a text with arrows saying the phone works both ways.
And as of the 23rd, she stopped, didn't she?
The texts were sporadic over those 9 days. I don't know if they would have stopped or they would have kept going.
Well, they didn't keep going, did they?
Well, John passed away.
You know they didn't keep going because from the 23rd onto the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th.
Wait a minute. Wait a second. John passed away. Just that phrase alone. Think about it. It has a lot of hidden meaning in it. John passed away, not John was killed, because when people pass away, when people, some people say people expire. I think doctors used to use that term. I don't know if they still do. Pass away it means like natural causes. John was killed, right? Allegedly by Karen Reed, or even more specifically by the McAlberts. Why would alcohol, tobacco, and firearms Special Agent Brian Higgins just accidentally blurt out that he passed away unless he knows? Because if you remember the chain of events that we have finally, I think, concluded and most people kind of agree on, whatever the reason was, it doesn't matter what the reason was, but there was an altercation in Brian Albert's home, in the Alberts' home. And John O'Keefe was beaten very badly. He had bruises on his on his head and his skull. He had dog bites on his arm. He probably lived. He was unconscious, but he probably lived. And they were too scared because they knew they were probably going to be criminally charged, and he may never wake up. He may go into a coma, but he would still be alive. And the most prevailing theory goes that they took John's body when he was still alive, right? So they took John. Let's just call it John. They took John and they put him in the backyard. Then Jennifer McCabe Googles "Hus long to die in the cold." Approximately how much time will need to elapse for John's body to expire, for him to draw his last breath as he's laying there unconscious, beaten senseless. Sorry, I think Brian Higgins' subconscious accidentally admitted right there that they were actually waiting for John O'Keefe to pass away. He didn't die from the beatings. He didn't die from... Because if the prevailing theory, if he sincerely believed that Karen Read killed him, he wouldn't have said when John O'Keefe passed away. John O'Keefe was killed because this woman killed him, you know? No, John O'Keefe passed away. He passed away when he was in the backyard freezing to death. The reason they didn't put him up front right away is because, well, what if he wakes up? You know, you can't risk that. Somebody's going to see him, and now everything is screwed. Now they went from assault in the first degree to attempted murder. But then after John passed away in the Albert's backyard, his body, his deceased person, his deceased body, was brought to the front of the house. And we know this because of the testimony of the snowplower, Lucky. Remember Lucky? Lucky said that there was no body there when he drove earlier. And then later on, suddenly there's a body. And that was after Karen Read had already gone home and went to sleep. That is crazy. I think that is an accidental admission under pressure. He just accidentally let the truth slip out. John O'Keefe passed away. Wow, that is... I can't believe I missed that in the first trial.
All the way to the 29th, she never texted you, right?
I believe so.
She didn't respond to any of your texts, correct?
Well, she didn't respond to the text on the 28th Friday.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Higgins, before we broke for lunch, we were talking about the text exchanges and the communication that you were having with Miss Read in the days leading up.
Oh, look at Karen's face. You know, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. That's it right there. You can see the disgusted look on her face. Her eyes reveal all. Poor woman.
Up to January 23rd. You recall that?
Yes.
It's fair to say that her text communications with you started to dwindle off in the days before the 23rd, correct?
They lagged.
As a matter of fact, you reached out to her in an effort to try to prompt the conversation to continue, did you not?
I reached out to her, but I wouldn't say that's what it was about.
Well, you texted her, stranger, didn't you? Not once, but twice.
I believe so.
Take a look, if you don't mind, at, this is a page from what you've just seen.
So he needs the.
I'm sorry. I was thinking that was right in front of you. May I approach?
Please.
Thank you. I have just a second. Easy to
Maybe
find.
that should just stay with Mr. Higgins.
Thank you. That's easy to find. It's literally the last page. With court permission, may I publish?
Yes.
Does that look like a fair representation of what you're looking at, the last page of that series of texts?
Yes.
At the very top, could you read what you write in the blue bubbles, starting at the top?
Ha ha, stranger, stranger.
And then what was the response from Miss Read?
Hey, I was at the Hilly all weekend.
And what did you respond at that point?
I have not heard from you.
And by the way, if you look at the next date down, what's the date underneath I have not heard from you?
The 23rd.
So this would have preceded the 23rd, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then on the 23rd, and by the way, after you texted, I have not heard from you, she did not respond, correct?
She did not respond.
Then on the 23rd, she did respond with phone works, correct?
In the arrows, like both ways.
Right.
Yep.
And then what did you text after that?
I just said, thought you were all set.
And how did she respond?
She said, we're talking? No.
No, that's all I have for that.
Okay.
Bring the lights back up. So clearly with that last text, her response was, in response to you saying, thought we were all set, she said, with talking, no. Correct?
Yep, yes.
Did that indicate to you that with flirting, yes, we're all done?
No, I didn't read anything into it.
Okay. But you did read where she said with talking, no, correct?
Yes.
And then you responded, how?
I said, are you sure?
And did she respond?
No.
As a matter of fact, the next time you saw or communicated with her, she was walking into the Waterfall Bar on the 29th, late night hours of the 28th, going into the early morning of the 29th, with her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
Now, you had discussed your flirtations, if I can use that word, that you had with Miss Reed with your friends, at least some of them, correct?
I don't recall that, no.
Do you recall that you openly shared the details of your interest in Miss Reed with your work supervisor at the DOJ?
Well, that was after I shared what happened, that she kissed me. Yes, I did share that with her.
And that was with...
That was the first time.
That was with a person by the name of Kate Dowd, is that right?
That's correct.
And that was before January 29th?
Yes.
And that's because your interest in Karen Reed, whether you call it romantic or sexual or whatever, your interest was something that was at least occupying your mind at that point, correct?
No.
It was occupying your mind enough to share it with your boss.
No, what I shared with my boss was the fact that she kissed me. That was it.
Did you discuss your flirtatious relationship with Karen Reed with Brian Albert at any point?
No.
Never.
No.
So you were on a 4-hour drive in a snowstorm back from New York with Mr. Albert, and your interest in Karen Reed never came up,
No.
even though he's a good friend.
Bull.
Yes, just something I wouldn't talk about.
You'd been drinking since about what time?
I don't buy it.
What time? That's a bad way to ask it. What time did you start drinking?
When are we at, Mr.?
I'm sorry, on the 28th, when you got back from New York. When did you start drinking?
Well, it wasn't until I swapped out vehicles and I went up to the hillside.
Okay. That would have been, give me a time frame. 9-ish, 8-ish?
It was dark. It was maybe in the area of 8 o'clock.
And what time do you think you got to Waterfall?
I couldn't say. I don't. It was after the hillside.
Before Brian Albert left Hillside, did he tell you that John O'Keefe had been invited over to meet them at the Waterfall?
No.
Was there any particular reason why you changed your mind and left the Hillside to go to the Waterfall?
Well, I think, as I previously testified, that it was because I didn't always take them up on their offer, and I usually did the Irish exit, and I decided because of the weather and everything else, and it had been a long day, that I would go down there and join them.
Didn't have anything to do with you knowing that Karen Reed might be at the Waterfall.
It couldn't have, because I didn't know she or John O'Keefe would even be there. I didn't know who was going to be there other than Brian's wife.
Do you have any text messages with Brian about going to the Waterfall?
I don't recall. He told me about it at the hillside.
And once he got to the Waterfall obviously before you did.
He did, I think shortly before, yes.
Any text communications between you and Brian Albert about who was at the Waterfall or who was expected to come to the Waterfall?
No, not that I recall.
Now, you've already indicated, and I don't think we need to go into a lot of detail about this, but I want to ask you just in general, the mood at the Waterfall was good spirits, correct?
It was great. Band was playing.
You did not see any sort of tension between John and Karen?
I did not.
Nobody seemed overly intoxicated?
No.
You had several drinks before you even got to the Waterfall, right?
I think it was 3 to 4.
Did you drink additionally at the Waterfall?
I did, yes.
Did you drink whiskey or beer or what?
Whiskey.
Okay. How many do you think you had?
I couldn't put a number on it. At least a couple.
And ultimately, you left from there in your personal vehicle and drove over to, that's the Jeep, drove
The Jeep,
over to
yes.
the waterfall, correct?
I drove over to the waterfall.
I'm
I
sorry.
was at the
Left
waterfall.
the waterfall, drove over to 34 Fairview.
I did, yes.
More drinking and driving.
John-
These guys are like professional drinkers and drivers.
Were you already there?
Yes.
He greeted you, you indicated, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Karen walked in with him,
Yes.
but she did not greet you, did she?
I think they kind of went like that in different directions.
Right.
Yes.
Did she greet you?
No.
Right. So she walked over toward the corner of the bar, and John came over and greeted you, and then walked over and joined her, correct?
Yes.
Karen didn't stop what she was doing once she was over in the corner of the bar and come over and say hi to you.
I didn't have any interaction with her that night, no.
So safe to say that throughout that evening, once she was sidled up next to John O'Keefe or the friends that she was with, she never turned back around and came over and even acknowledged you, correct?
That's correct.
So she basically ignored you the entire evening.
That's not how I interpret it, no.
I didn't ask you how you interpreted it. I asked you what she did. Did she ignore you or did she pay attention to you?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that. Did she ignore you?
No.
So she paid attention to you. Came over and said hello, shook your hand, gave you a hug.
Well, just because somebody didn't come over doesn't mean they ignored you.
Did she do those three things?
Hug, what was the other
She
thing?
say hello, shake your hand, give you a hug?
No, she did not.
No, she didn't do any of those things, did she?
No.
So
But
she
they
ignored
didn't
you.
exist.
I think that's dramatic. No, I don't look at it that way.
Did she ignore you or not?
No, she did not ignore me.
So what did she do to not ignore you?
She was
What's her interaction with you?
Can I answer now?
Sure.
She, in my opinion, she was working the room, talking to people, saying hello, catching up.
Right. The one person she didn't come over to talk to and say hello to and catch up with is you.
Well, I don't know that I was the only person, but I was one of the people that she didn't say hello to, yes.
Treated you sort of like a stranger.
I don't feel that way, no.
She actually positioned herself away from you at the other end of the table on the opposite side in the corner. Isn't that right?
I don't know where she was all night, no.
Did
I
that
don't know.
upset you that she ignored you or didn't pay attention to you?
I did not feel ignored and didn't upset me at all.
But it bothered you enough to send her a text, didn't it?
No, it was a flirtatious text. It was just, that was it.
It bothered you enough to send her a text that said, with 6 M's behind it,
Okay.
and, well, correct?
Well, it wasn't like that. It was, well, that's it.
Just, well, like well in the ground.
I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you do too, sir. You meant, well, you need to pay attention to me.
No, that's not correct.
Well, why are you ignoring me?
It's not correct.
Just admit
Well,
it, man.
Am I chopped liver?
Objection.
All right, that's sustained. Mr. Jackson, let's move on.
Even Auntie Bev is laughing. Did you hear that? Did you hear that in her voice?
End of the night, the group basically discussed going back to Brian Albert's house. Is that right?
There was discussion at the table of, like, were we going to go to the pizza shop or were we going to go somewhere else? And ultimately, it was 34 Fairview.
Before you left, just so we're clear, when you texted, well, she ignored that text too, didn't she?
Can you say that again?
When you texted her, well, at Waterfall, she ignored that text too, correct?
Well, that was the only text I sent that night to her, yes.
Okay.
She didn't respond.
That wasn't my question. My
What,
question is she ignored the text, correct?
well, I don't know if she, I don't know what her mindset was. If she purposely ignored the text or she didn't see it, I don't know. I didn't read into it.
Did she ignore the text, Mr. Higgins?
I don't know.
Did she respond to the text?
She did not respond.
Got it.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
So when everybody was leaving, did you leave before they did, John and Karen, or did they leave before you did?
I don't know.
You said you were the first one back to Brian Albert's house, correct?
Yes,
Safe to say you were one of the first ones to leave.
I was the first one to leave
Waterfall.
the waterfall. Probably.
I mean, if you're the, if everybody's herding out and you're the first one to get there, you're probably among the first to leave, correct?
Most likely.
Okay. You never personally discussed going to 34 Fairview certainly not with Karen Reed, did you?
No,
And you never discussed it with John O'Keefe either, did you?
No,
You didn't say goodbye or walk over and give John a big hug or anything like that? An
No.
acknowledgement, did you?
no.
You just left.
Well, that's what everybody was doing, just leaving.
Okay. You too, correct?
I did leave, yes.
And all you knew that, at that point, all you knew was that you were going over to 34 Fairview. You did not know who else was invited over to 34 Fairview.
My impression was that it was an open invitation, and I planned on heading over there.
But you did not know who else was coming.
I had no idea who was coming.
And you didn't say goodbye to John, correct?
I don't think I said goodbye to anybody.
And you didn't talk to him about coming over to 34 Fairview.
No,
Yet at 2:20 in the morning, you texted John O'Keefe, you coming here, correct?
At 2:20,
Sorry, 12:20.
I did.
And that had 3 question marks behind it, correct?
Yes.
Did you text Karen about coming over to 34 Fairview?
No.
So at 12:20 a.m., after you left the waterfall and made your way over to 34 Fairview, you were more interested in getting John to come to 34 Fairview than you were to getting Karen to come to 34 Fairview.
No, that's not how I would describe that.
But you didn't text Karen, correct?
No, I didn't.
But you did text John.
Yes.
By the way, notice the pregnant pause. That was so intentional. That was so intentional. You didn't text Karen, no, but you did text John. Yes. Pause. Let the jury absorb it. Let the people listening to this, the jury specifically, absorb the fact you texted John. Pregnant pause. Classic defense style question. You rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, and then the minute you get to an important one, you pause. It elevates that question and the response to the listener because now they're kind of fixated on it for a few seconds, and it shows the gravitas, the importance behind those words, behind the question, behind the answer. And you'll see how it will unfold.
Your Jeep, your personal vehicle with the plow on it, over to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you were among the first to arrive because you were doing that thing with the sort of playing around by plowing his driveway.
It was a sweep of the driveway, yes.
And then you indicated that you parked in front of the house, correct?
I did.
I know you've been over this before, but I'm going to ask you one final time so that it's completely clear. Exactly where was your Jeep in front of that house?
By the mailbox.
Okay. Can we have, with the court's permission, Exhibit 66?
Okay?
This is a graphic representation of 34 Fairview, not a photograph. Just to orient you, do you see what's depicted in Exhibit 66?
Yes,
Do you recognize it?
I do.
Do you see the mailbox, which is about right there?
Yes.
Okay. Where was your Jeep in relation to that mailbox?
So the back end of the Jeep, the rear, would have been about around equal with the mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
Okay, so you would have been about there, correct? If the right edge of that highlight is the mailbox being right there, you would have been about right there on the street, correct?
Well, that would have been the front of the Jeep. Where your laser pointer is, it would be the front,
Okay, so the front of the Jeep was facing the flagpole,
towards Chapman Street, correct.
and the rear of the Jeep was basically even with the mailbox strut or stanchion.
It was definitely past the driveway, yes.
Okay. You indicated the plow was a 6-foot, what inch plow?
I think it was a 6'8", 6
6'8",
foot,
meaning the width.
meaning the width, yes.
How deep is that plow?
How deep? Like,
2 feet, 3 feet, 6 inches?
I mean, it's probably a few inches.
Okay,
It's light duty, it's on a Jeep.
okay. And it's obviously curved and
Curved.
canted to the right?
No, it wasn't canted at all, it was straight down.
Okay, so it's not like, I guess I'm picturing in my mind, I don't know that I've ever seen one, that the front of the Jeep is not parallel to the plow. In other words, it would plow stuff off to the right. Is that not right?
I'm not understanding what you're trying to communicate to me.
How is the plow positioned as it relates to the front end of the Jeep? Is it perfectly parallel to the front end, or is it canted one way or another?
So when you're driving, straight locally, where you're not gonna have to worry about overheating the Jeep, I would just have the Jeep, the plow straight. If I was on the highway for a long distance, I'd be worried about overheating, so I would canter the plow, tilt it up so that air could get through the front grille.
So in other words, you can control it.
I can, yes.
How was it that night?
So
How was it canted that night? Was it straight or canted?
it was straight and straight on.
All right. When you walked into 34 Fairview, you indicated that there were people congregated basically in the kitchen area, correct?
There was some people in the kitchen area, yes.
How many people were at the high top table that you described?
Initially, when I walked in, I believe there was Brian Jr., and he was flanked by one, possibly two females.
And you indicated that basically you were positioned in that area with your back to the door for most of the evening, correct?
I was like I would describe it as diagonally across from him and had my back to the door that I had come in, which would be the breezeway door.
But at some point, you had moved out of that kitchen area with Brian Albert, correct?
Well, I briefly went and looked at some photos.
Right. So you moved out of that area with Brian Albert alone to go to a different room.
Yes, and I think his wife, Nicole, might have popped in the room for a second, but it was brief.
Did you have anything to drink while you were at 34 Fairview?
Well, when I got there, they didn't have any whiskey. I believe they might have put a beer or something else in front of me, and I knew it was going to be a short night there because I just wasn't going to. I'm not a beer drinker.
You've indicated in a prior testimony that you've never been upstairs in Brian's house, correct?
Oh.
When you say upstairs, like you're talking like second floor?
Correct.
Yes. No.
You testified to that in a prior hearing, is that right?
Yes.
In May of 2023.
Yes.
And you said specifically, quote, "I've never been upstairs." Is that
Yes.
right? All right. You understood when you gave that statement that you were under oath,
Yes.
you were telling the truth,
Yes.
same oath that you took here today, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that the photos that you saw were on the first
Why is he so uncomfortable already? Why lie about something so innocuous unless it has some meaning? Hey, Brian?
floor living room area, is that right?
I believe that's where they were. Yes.
So the only floor downstairs from the first floor would be what?
The basement.
And the only floor upstairs from the basement would be what?
The first floor.
So if someone were to describe going upstairs to look at the photos that you've described on the first floor, where would they have to be to go upstairs to look at those photos?
Are you saying on the first floor?
Correct. If the photos are on the first floor,
Yeah.
and someone said, we went upstairs to look at those photos, where would they have to be?
I guess upstairs.
The people would have to be upstairs?
Well, the photos would be upstairs. Is that what you're saying?
Where are the people? Where would the people have to be to go upstairs to the living room to look at the photos?
I'm not understanding the question.
If the photos are on
Here's the
first floor,
church, here's the
Yes.
steeple, and here are all the
floor
people.
beneath it is the basement,
Okay.
and someone says, we went upstairs to look at the photos, where would they have to be?
Well, who said they went upstairs?
All right, so Mr. Jackson, you can save this for argument. Next question, please.
What?
If Brian
Wait a
Albert-
minute. Right when Alan Jackson was getting ready to hit it out of the park, hit it home, to show that you, sir, are a liar. You have been upstairs. Auntie Bev, the corrupt judge in this case, goes, we're enough of this. Move on to the next point. You can argue it in closing. You're done. God, it's so important to have a good judge on your case, and there was not one in this case. It's so difficult to try a case when there are two prosecutors in the room and one of them is wearing a robe.
went upstairs to look at the photos, where would you have to be?
Objection.
Sustained.
See, now Lally knows. Now Lally knows. All I have to do is object and she's gonna grant it. She already told him to move on, and he's still, Jackson is like, come on, just let me try, get this. And Lally now jumps in. I know this is my green light. Hey, my darling, I object. I sustain your objection, Mr. Lally. Mr. Jackson, please move on. I hate
Brian
it.
Howard had a weight room someplace in the house, right?
Yes.
And a gym.
I guess he called it a home gym
Where was that?
in the basement.
Had you ever been down to that basement before?
Yes, one time.
When was that?
That was during the twins' graduation party. Summertime.
Summertime before
Summertime before. Yes.
summer of 2021?
Maybe.
So if Brian Albert testified
Or
that
could
you've
it-
never been in the basement, that would not be accurate.
Objection.
Sustained.
That's a good one. Okay.
Now, you do recall giving testimony at another proceeding on June 1st, 2023, correct?
Yes.
And of course, the same thing applied. You were under oath. Is that right?
Yes.
You knew that it was a crime to lie under oath
Yes.
in that proceeding. During the course of that proceeding, you were asked who was in the house and who you saw come into the house, correct?
Yes.
And during the course of that testimony, you admitted that you observed a tall, dark-haired male enter the Albert house that night, correct?
I believe that was in reference to somebody's brother in a pickup. I don't know if that was during.
Are you
All I'm asking you,
sure?
Mr. Higgins, is did you say that? Did you say a tall, dark-haired male entered the house while you were there?
I said they might have.
Did you say they might have?
Yes. And that was in reference to
Let me
somebody's
have just a moment,
brother.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Did you say a tall, dark-haired male entered the house while you were there?
I said they might have.
Did you say they might have?
Yes. And that was in reference to
Let me have
somebody's
just a
brother.
moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Oopsie daisy. That's where we left off last time. He accidentally slipped up because the description matches John O'Keefe.
Isn't it true that you indicated that a male showed up who may have been Julie Nagel's brother, correct?
I said might have, yes.
Right. But there was no question in your mind that a male did in fact show up, and you described him as tall and dark-haired, right?
Yes.
You were asked, a male showed up where? And you answered, quote, showed up at the house that I didn't know. I think he was there very briefly. I was half paying attention to it. Question, did that male come inside the house? Answer, I believe he did. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So a male did come in the house that night, correct?
No, I said I believe he did. I wasn't sure.
Well, when you testified at the prior hearing, you were asked, so you saw someone else come? Question. Answer, somebody else. Yes. End quote. That's what you testified to under oath, wasn't it?
Is that in reference to that?
What page are you on, Mr. Jackson?
Page 485, 40.
I like how Higgins was like, I don't know what. Oh, you're asking him. Oh, okay, good. I'm so frustrated here. I love watching this man squirm. It's like my own guilty pleasure. Sorry, not sorry. You can do it, buddy. What is he reading? An essay over there?
Mr. Higgins, do you have that in mind?
I do.
May I approach?
Yes.
You were asked the question, quote, did that male come inside the house? You answered, I believe he did. Question, so you saw someone else come? Answer, somebody else. Yes. Correct?
Yes, but I also said that.
Wait,
I
wait,
wasn't
wait,
paying
wait.
attention.
Hold
I
on.
realize that you want to explain your
Yeah,
answer.
that's not-
I asked you a very simple question.
Exactly.
Was that your testimony in
Yes
front
or
of
no?
another proceeding?
Yes, it was.
At another proceeding, which you were under oath?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
There you go.
You also said
Got him,
that
Jackson.
you only remember seeing that person come in briefly. And it looked like he was having a conversation with the two girls, briefly, correct?
Yes.
You were asked how long was the person in there roughly, and you said it was quick. less than a couple of minutes. I mean, it was quick, correct?
Yes.
And then you were asked what he looked like, and you said, I feel like they were a little bit taller. They had dark hair, correct?
Yes.
So you testified that a tall, dark-haired male came into the house, at least briefly, in your testimony, correct?
Yes.
Approximately when in the timeline of events did that unidentified male enter the residence?
I don't know the time frame. It would have been while I was there.
When you gave your statement to the Massachusetts State Police, you didn't tell them about a tall, dark-haired male coming into the residence at 34 Fairview, did you, on February 3rd?
I don't recall.
Aha.
You were specifically asked by ADA Lally when you testified before the state court grand jury on April 28th, 2022, who else was present, correct?
Yes.
And you never mentioned a tall, dark-haired male coming into the house, did you?
No.
However, on June 1st, 2023, at this other proceeding, you were specifically instructed at the start of your testimony that it was a crime to give materially false statements in that proceeding, correct?
Yes.
And that's the proceeding in which you admitted that there was a tall, dark-haired male who came in the house. Yes or no? Yes or no? It was that proceeding.
Can you answer that, yes or no?
No, I can't, Your Honor.
Next question, Mr. Jackson.
So hold on. The judge is not even going to make the witness answer the question? Did you just skip over it? So the previous testimony that he gave under oath, doesn't matter. Let's just move on. Who cares? Right, Auntie Bev? Oh my God, sorry. Sometimes I blow a fuse. That woman makes me very angry in the way that she handles her courtroom. That is not the proper way to handle a witness, and she knows it, and the witness knows it, and Alan knows it, and everybody in the room knows it, including the witness.
The quotations the quotes that I just read you and that you just looked at,
Yes.
that was from the June 1, 2023 hearing, wasn't it?
I don't know.
May I approach that?
Yes.
That's what was just read, and that's another page. Just take a look at that page and see if you see a date on it, the first page.
I see it, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
What's the date, sir?
June 1st?
2023?
Yes.
How long did you stay at the Albert residence in total? From the time you got there till the time you left?
Maybe like a half hour, less than an hour.
And what time did you leave? Say 12:30, you said?
I think I said between 12:30 and 1 a.m.
And you indicated that you pretty much didn't say goodbye to anybody, right?
At the house,
Correct.
I just kind of left. I said, see you later, turn around, left.
The really fun part of the second trial, for the defense team especially, is going to be reaming these people apart, cutting them into pieces, because they said so many different lies stacked upon lies under oath. Remember, I mentioned that they can be impeached. And for those of you who are not familiar, it's a legal term. It simply means you can now be questioned about an inconsistent statement that you made previously under oath. So if he says, some of them may be innocuous. He may say, it was about 2 hours when it was only 1 hour or something like that. But Alan Jackson and David Yannetti and Mr. Alessi will now have a chance to really carve these people out. And when they make serious inconsistent statements, when they go like, well, I was actually on my way to 34 Fairview, when in reality they were just leaving 34 Fairview or something like that, just because they can't keep their lies in check, that's going to be big. That's going to be big. Like, where the Jeep was parked. Now we know there are at least 2 witnesses who are not going to be called. Allie McCabe, because she couldn't keep her lies straight. She almost let the truth slip out when he came into the house. Remember that statement by Ms. McCabe? Oh, it was juicy. I had the luck of being in the courtroom. That's the day that Allie McCabe testified, so I got super lucky. I got like double lucky. And then there's another gentleman, also is not being called by the prosecution because we just got the witness list. I mean, it's unbelievable, folks. It is unbelievable what they're trying to do, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's almost like a trial within a trial, because you're going to have this trial, and then you're going to have all the statements made in the first trial for every single witness. And I think that's what Alessi is there for. Alessi is there to sift through all of the stuff and help the defense kind of make sure that their first trial, something tells me that Alessi has an excellent memory. Let me know in the comments below. Does anybody know for a fact, can you disprove or deny or prove or deny this statement that Alessi is actually like a, I don't know, does he have like a photographic memory? It would be fascinating if he does, because if he watched the entirety of the first trial and he does have a photographic memory, for instance, or you could hire someone else, it doesn't have to be Alessi, you know, could be anyone on the defense team. Doesn't have to be a lawyer. It's going to be interesting because now they can split the witnesses 3 ways, so that's already good. It lessens the workload for each lawyer because one lawyer, even 2 lawyers would not be able to handle, and they knew it. They knew it going in. It's an immense, massive undertaking because you have 9 weeks of the first trial of testimony and that they're locked in under oath, plus the grand jury testimony. Now you have like double inconsistency. You could theoretically have a witness say something that is inconsistent with both their grand jury testimony and inconsistent with their previous trial testimony, and both of those are under oath. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
In fact, at that same hearing that we just looked at, your statement was, I made a beeline out of there, correct?
I don't know if that's the verbiage I used, but I left
Why the rush? Why did you leave so quick?
because it was a long day and I just wanted to go home.
Except you didn't go home, did you?
No, I went back to Canton PD.
Right. So it wasn't such a long day that you actually drove home. You went back to the Canton Police Department.
Wait, did he forget his own lie? I was tired and I wanted to go home. Oh wait, no, never mind. I didn't go home. I went to Canton PD. Come on, dude, at least keep your lies straight.
1 or 1:30 in the morning, correct?
To move vehicles, correct.
Well, let's talk about you leaving. You walked out the side breeze.
You're going to move vehicles at 1:30 in the morning? No one else can do it for you? This is not even your department. You don't work at Canton PD. You were given privileges at Canton PD. Very, very sus. Very, very, very highly sus.
Way door, correct?
Yes,
You walk down the driveway.
yes,
There's nothing obstructing your view at that point of the lawn to your right, correct?
I didn't look over there, but I would not think so.
Between you and the flagpole, in other words, there wasn't some mound of dirt, something obstructing your view. You could see straight across if you wanted to, correct?
If I wanted to, yes.
It's just basically a flat, grassy lawn with a light dusting of white powder snow on it, right?
I don't know how much snow was, but there was snow there.
Yeah, you indicated that it wasn't even enough to stick to the pavement at that point.
Well, that's when I got there, yes.
Well, you only stayed less than an hour, right?
That's correct.
So I'm assuming it didn't dump 3 feet in an hour, correct?
I think we can both agree that it's not it wouldn't have been 3 feet, no.
Right, so it would have been a light dusting of snow.
More snow than there was there.
How far would you say it was from the edge of the driveway over to your Jeep?
From where the back of my Jeep was parked,
Correct.
maybe a foot or 2, or it could have been even with the edge of the driveway.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's probably a bad question on my part. When you left the house, as you started to walk down the driveway toward your Jeep, how long of a walk is that? Across the yard to down the driveway to get to your Jeep?
Short,
30 feet?
maybe.
Okay. During the course of you walking out the door, heading to your Jeep, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary in the yard, correct?
No,
You certainly didn't see a body in the yard.
of course not.
Now, you get in your car, and it's facing directly toward the flagpole, correct?
It's facing directly up the street. The flagpole would be off to the 1 o'clock.
Right. So just a few degrees off to the right, the flagpole is, correct?
It's off to the right.
Just a few degrees.
I don't know how many degrees, but it's off to the right.
Well,
Oh
you just
my
said 1
God.
o'clock. You're a
Yes.
former military guy, right?
I am.
Okay. 1 o'clock means 1 o'clock on a watch. 12 o'clock is due north or right in front of you. 1 o'clock is just a few degrees to the right, correct? That's what you meant.
At the 1 o'clock, yes.
Okay. So you didn't see a body when you got in your Jeep.
No, I did not.
Then you turned the engine on, correct?
And the wipers, yes.
And the lights.
Yes.
And the lights lit up everything in front of you, correct?
Yes.
You still didn't see a body, did you?
No, I did not.
I wonder if their original plan, before they realized they can pin this on Karen Read, was to claim that some other tall, dark-haired man came into the house, killed John O'Keefe, and left, or something. I don't know. The more I say it, the more it doesn't make any sense. Like, come on. Are they not going to apprehend him? There are a bunch of, like, police officers and paramedics. Never mind. I just an idea I got. Like, what was their original plan before they... Maybe they didn't have a plan. Maybe they were scrambling. And then they're like, oh my God, we can just pin it on her. This is easy. I don't know. Just rewatching all this testimony is bringing back so many memories and thoughts and theories about the case, you know?
In the driver's seat, you put the car in gear and you begin to roll forward, right?
Yes.
But there was a plow on the ground that scraped for a foot, right?
Yes.
So you picked it back up,
Yes.
looked out the windshield to make sure the plow was situated, and continued to roll forward, correct?
I knew it was up when I continued to drive.
And as you continue to drive, you're looking ahead of you and probably to your left to make sure that there's no oncoming cars, right?
Well, I knew there was no oncoming cars. I was just driving forward.
Right. So your focus is directly in front of you.
On the road, yes.
And everything in your peripheral vision is right in front of you as well, correct?
Yes.
Nothing obstructing your view.
I mean, other than snow on the car.
Nothing obstructing your view outside toward the lawn. Wasn't another car parked there.
No, I didn't. There was no vehicles in front of me, no.
It was the roadway was relatively empty.
There was no cars.
And you didn't see a body then either, did you?
I did not.
And as you drive past that flagpole with everything lit up and everything in your peripheral vision, you still didn't see a body on that lawn, did you?
I did not.
You're a former firefighter, is that right?
Yes.
Did that put you in a position of being a first responder?
Yes.
And you're currently a law enforcement officer.
Yes.
That puts you in the position of being a first responder, correct?
I'm also a tactical medic, yes.
Which means that you have training to be an observer. You're a trained observer, more than the average person, correct?
Yes.
You look for things out of the ordinary. You look for things that don't belong. As an investigator, and former firefighter, first responder, correct?
Yes.
And you did not see a 217-pound man bleeding out on the side of the road, in the lawn, or in the yard, just to your right by that flagpole, correct?
If I did,
I didn't
I
ask
would
you
have
if
done
you
something
did.
to help him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
And that's because there was no body there, correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because if there was a body there, you certainly would have seen that.
Objection.
Where exactly did you go when you left 34 Fairview?
I went back to the Canton Police Station.
When you were asked that on direct examination, you said you weren't sure where you went when you left 34 Fairview, either home or to Canton PD.
No, that's not what I testified to.
Did something jog your memory about
is-
where you went?
That is not what I testified to. That was in relation to where did I go after I left 34 Fairview the next morning.
Why did you go to Canton Police Department that night,
Yeah.
that morning?
What's the question?
Oh my God.
Why did you go
He's
to
thinking of an
Canton
answer.
Police Department that morning?
The morning when I left 34 Fairview, the Friday into Saturday,
Correct.
to move 2 vehicles.
So, and it's a Friday no less. So everybody wants to go home. Nobody wants to be out and about. But you're like, no, I want to go home so badly. I'm going to go to the police department just to move a couple of vehicles around. The math is not mathing.
Quite an evolution of that story over the years, has there not?
I don't understand the question.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. You had an initial
Aha! Caught in a bold-faced lie, and you can tell the shame on his face as he's looking down. Folks, oh my God, I told you this one is gonna be juicy. I told you this one is gonna be good, and it did not disappoint. I mean, my God. I am going home. Never mind, I'm going to the PD. Well, actually, I was tired, and I'm gonna... It's impossible with these folks. We've seen it in the first trial, and we're definitely gonna see it in the second trial. So
interview with Massachusetts State Police on February 3rd, 2022.
Yes.
Correct? And you indicated during the course of that interview, which was just a couple of days, 5 days, after the events in question, that you left Brian Albert's house, went to Canton PD to, quote, fulfill some administrative obligations, end quote, correct? You later said, when you testified in front of the grand jury on April 28th, that you went to Canton PD to do, quote, administrative work, correct?
Yes.
You never mentioned,
I said administrative things.
you said administrative work was your testimony in your transcript.
I believe it was things, but okay.
Okay. Can we agree, Mr. Higgins, that you didn't mention anything about moving cars around, correct?
Well, that would be administrative.
So
Eye roll.
when you say I went to Canton PD to do administrative work or administrative obligations, you meant moving your car, your personal vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Although you didn't say that you were going there to move your personal vehicle, right?
No, I said I didn't move my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you had gotten Canton PD earlier in the afternoon and actually moved some other vehicles, traded vehicles, didn't you?
I swapped vehicles out, that's correct.
Right, and you left the vehicles that you now claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later,
I
right?
was more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
Eat and have a drink so that I can move some more vehicles under the influence. That seems to be the theme here. He got to the waterfall after he had a few whiskeys or whatever he said that he was drinking, 3 or 4, I believe he said. And then he drove intoxicated again from the waterfall to 34 Fairview. Now he's driving intoxicated a 3rd time from 34 Fairview to his work, arriving at work intoxicated and moving more vehicles under the influence. Does that seem normal? That does not seem like the kind of, professional behavior you would expect from a law enforcement agent, an alcohol, tobacco, and firearms special agent? What am I missing here? I don't think I'm missing anything. This guy is just not fit to be on the force. No wonder he's been taken off the field.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back to Canton and play, parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Because he knows he went there for a
Higgins,
different
you weren't
reason.
Actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
Oh, we'll talk about the video in just a second.
Oh, wait a second. Did you see how uncomfortable he got? There may be a possibility that he's like, wait a minute. I know I didn't do that. Do they have a video of me not doing it? And he's like going in his head like, what do they have? What does he have? What does he have? What is he going to use? You can tell it's written all over his face.
You entered the Canton Police Station through which door?
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sallyport as you come in the main entrance.
And you made note of who was on duty that night, correct?
I didn't make note. I walked by, I saw somebody sitting in the control room, and then just went about my business.
So you immediately knew that your friend, Officer Good, was working dispatch, right?
So do you need to hear something or? So why don't we take a 5-minute?
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins, if you went back to Canton PD at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, you would certainly be in a position to monitor anything that was happening at Canton PD at the time that at least you were there, correct?
No.
I mean, you would be inside the building, correct?
Yes.
With access to dispatch and anything else that was happening around that floor, that area, correct?
I did not go into dispatch.
You would have access to the interior of the police station at that time if you went back to Canton PD at 1:30 in the morning, correct?
I'd have access.
You could see if there was any activity going on, any calls, call-outs, things of that nature.
I didn't have access to that, and I wasn't looking for it.
Not that you were looking for it, Mr. Higgins. My question is more simple than that. If you were there, you'd know what was going on inside the building.
No.
So if you walked in, you would just be completely oblivious to anything that was happening. For instance, if troopers started amassing to go out to a call, you wouldn't see that.
Objection.
The objection sustained. Ask it differently.
If you were able to monitor, you'd be in a position to monitor what was happening at the station around 1:30 in the morning when you were over there, correct?
No.
No?
So,
Are you sitting in a room? In a box? I thought you were moving
how long did it take you
vehicles.
to get home from Canton PD?
A little longer from after I moved the vehicles?
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been 15 minutes, it could have been 20 minutes.
You live alone?
I do.
You did then?
Yes.
What did you do when you got home?
I think I had something to eat, maybe a couple more drinks.
This guy is so tired and wants to go home so badly because he was tired, and what do tired people do? They go to sleep. I mean, he was agitated about the death of John O'Keefe, which I'm certain he knew about. He went from 34 Fairview to his work to do some administrative work that could not wait until Monday morning, or at least Saturday morning when he woke up. And he was so tired, he went home to grab another bite to eat again. This is now presumably like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. And a few more drinks. Well, because he wants to be updated. He wants to keep up with what's going on. How's the situation with John? Is he coming to? Is he taken care of? That's what it's starting to smell like. People who are anxious, nervous, stressed are going to be on edge, are going to be worried. Whew. Man, oh man. Brian. Good old Brian Higgins. What have you gotten yourself into? I feel no remorse for this man.
And you went to bed?
Was either on the couch or in the bed watching the news.
In any of the prior testimony that you...
Why are you watching the news at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning on a Friday going on Saturday? You're watching the news because you're waiting to see if there are any news about a dead body reported on 34 Fairview and what's happening with it. Oh, I think this is really telling. This is really telling.
Given in this case, have you ever indicated, ever, that you slept on the couch that night?
I don't know.
Well, you reviewed your testimony before you
Well,
testified.
those would be the two options.
Okay. I didn't ask you about your options. I asked you if you reviewed your testimony before you testified.
Yes.
Okay. When you reviewed your testimony previous to coming in here today, did you ever testify that you slept on the couch that night?
No, I slept in my bed, but I could have started somewhere else.
Did you ever testify in the previous hearing that you started somewhere else?
Not that I know.
Did you ever mention a couch in any of your description about what you did when you went home that night?
Not that I recall.
As a matter of fact, what you did mention under questioning in a different hearing was that you may have gotten something to eat, you then went to bed, put your stuff on the nightstand next to your bed, correct?
That would be the routine, yes.
He is getting really uncomfortable because he knows his story is very inconsistent. And he knows that these are bold-faced lies. He just has to keep it going. He can't stop now. Otherwise, you're going to be indicted for accessory to a murder. Yeah.
You did not make or receive any calls after returning home that night.
No.
You were clear when you went to sleep in your prior testimony that you put both your work and your personal phone, you had two at the time, correct?
Yes.
A personal and a work cell phone, right?
Yes.
You put them both on your bedside table because that's what you do every night. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
As a matter of fact, you were asked whether or not you have a charging station, and you said, yeah, it's right on my bedside.
I don't know that I don't have a charging station.
Right, you said no, bedside. In other words, you keep your phone by your bedside, on your bedside table.
Usually.
You also testified that you did not use your phone that night to go on social media, correct?
That's correct.
You indicated that you don't go on, you didn't go on social media because you don't have social media. You don't use it that much.
I don't.
You said, I don't have the gram. I'm guessing that means Instagram, correct?
That is correct.
And you don't use Snapchat, and you, quote, don't do those things, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so you testified that the first call you received after returning home on the 29th was a call from Chief Berkowitz just before 7 a.m., which woke you up. Is that right?
It was around 6:30-ish, I think.
Okay. Your testimony previously was at some point before 7 a.m., that call was the one that woke you up.
Yes.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that was a lie, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a lie.
You want to tell me you slept for like an hour and a half? And you're like, you should be hungover to all hell after all the copious amounts of alcohol that you consumed. You should be extremely exhausted, hungover, and then you just get woken up at 7 a.m. You would be so dead tired, you'd probably sleep until noon. You would sleep through all of it. The only justification is that you were awake. You were stressed and awake and you didn't sleep for a second that night. Get him, Jackson.
Asked that question at a previous hearing, you didn't know that the person questioning you had your phone records, did you?
I assume they did.
And you were thereafter confronted with those phone records, correct?
I was asked about them, yes.
And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not one, but 2 phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning, at a time when you claimed you were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Take a look at those 2 documents and tell me if you recognize at least the top one.
Do they have a page number for me to follow or no?
I was just asking Ms. Little, I don't think we've introduced them, and no, they don't have a page number, but I'm going to ask that they be marked for identification, at least at this point. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
These are, you know what, I'm going to, if it's okay with the court, may the witness maintain those documents?
Sure.
Just a second. I'd like to have those 2 documents marked only for identification with the court's permission.
Okay.
You've seen that document before, correct?
I think I've seen it maybe on a screen, not in my hand.
That was these were the records that were shown to you at a prior hearing?
Yes.
And you acknowledge that at least the one marked QQ is a record of your calls, correct?
It has my name, my telephone number, correct?
And it indicates that on January 29th, 2022, at 2:22 and 35 seconds, you received a call from Brian Albert, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Brian Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
There's a second call just below that. On the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds, from you to Brian Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
So 17
Busted.
seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Brian Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
That's what the records say. But I have no recollection of ever talking to Brian Albert the night that John O'Keefe died. I was in bed. That was a butt dial. I mean, come on. What do you want from me, huh? I didn't do nothing, huh? It's unbelievable what these guys are capable of. Bold-faced lies and just unabashedly lying through their teeth.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Brian Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in the cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Ah, it's out there. Jury heard it.
And then, of course, you lied about that under oath in that prior proceeding by saying, I don't remember this phone call.
Objection.
Did you catch the glance at the prosecutor and then you lied under oath by saying, hey, buddy, little help here? Rescue? Ah, there it is. Ha. Objection. Okay, good.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said, I don't remember that phone call?
I always tell the truth.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection.
Would you tell us if you were lying? Of course you wouldn't. Oh my God. Absolute masterclass by Alan Jackson on how to cross-examine a non-cooperative witness that simply will not relent and will not give you what you want. Folks, this is one for the history books. I'm telling you, this is going to be taught in law schools one day. This case, once the second trial is over.
Acknowledge that there's a 22-second phone call in your phone records, correct?
That's what's reflected by the record.
And 22 seconds is quite an amount of time. Would you agree?
It's 22 seconds.
As a matter of fact, it's about this long, with the court's permission.
The court does not give permission. That's argument, Mr. Jackson.
If we were to count off 22 seconds, that's an uncomfortably long time, is it not?
No,
It's long enough to have a conversation, isn't it?
I didn't have a conversation.
Is 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
No.
Yes.
A human being can't have a conversation in 22 seconds?
Sure they could. I don't think it's anything of substance.
Okay, so that's my question. Is it 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
I don't agree with it, no.
Now, when you were asked about this and you were shown these records, that prior hearing, you had an explanation for what that 22-second call may have been and what the prior call may have been, correct?
Yes.
What was your explanation?
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
Is it just me, or people in Canton just rampant with butt dials? Like, there's a butt dial from Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, Brian Albert, and now Brian Higgins. They all just butt dial each other over and over. Let me show you, by the way, how you can have a 22-second conversation. You guys ready? Here, let me time it. Let me set the clock, timer, 22 seconds. Go. Hey, Brian, it's Albert. Listen, he's there. Everything okay? Well, I don't know. He's still moving, but we're going to see what's going to happen. I think it's going to be okay. You think it's going to be okay? Have the authorities been alerted? No, as far as we know, everything is good. All right, well, listen, man, we're going to hop off here, or we're good, yeah? Everything is good. I'm watching the news, nothing on the news. All right, buddy, I'll see you later. Thanks. Bye. "22-second conversation.
You think it's possible that you may have butt dialed Brian Albert for a 22-second call that you're not aware of?
I think it's possible that he could have been inadvertently called back, but I have no recollection of that, nor did I have any conversation with anybody.
But you admitted that you lived alone, correct, Mr. Higgins?
That's correct.
You have an iPhone at the time.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that number for the reflecting those records is in fact, or was in fact, an iPhone. Is that right?
Yes.
You already indicated under oath that you don't sleep with your iPhone. You keep it on your bedside table. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
There's nobody else in your room. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you had your ringer on because you were awakened the next morning by a call from Chief Berkowitz, right?
Yes, the ringer was on.
When somebody calls you and you miss the call, there's a notification that shows up on that iPhone. Isn't that right?
I don't know how mine's set up at the time. I don't know.
If you open up your
Oh,
phone
please.
app and you go to recents, it shows all the missed calls, correct?
I think you can get to them, yes.
And you know that the iPhone does not automatically call people back. That is not a thing, right? You miss a call from someone, it's not just going to automatically re-ring them.
Yes, I think we both know that, yes.
So to call somebody back, you have to go on your iPhone, open it up from a locked position, navigate to a phone application, then navigate to a contact, and then make a call, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can break it down.
Sure.
It's a low compound. I'll give him
In
that.
order to call somebody back, if you've missed a call, you first have to unlock your iPhone.
You would have to, yes.
You can do that either through Face ID or through a 4 or 6-digit passcode, right?
Yes.
Don't tell me the code, but did you have a 4 or a 6-digit passcode locking your iPhone at the time?
I don't know if it was a digit code or Face ID.
Well, if you have a Face ID, you have to have a digit code as well, right?
I guess so.
Okay. Did you open your phone with your Face ID or a multi-digit code?
I have no recollection of answering the phone or calling anybody back.
You also have to navigate, once the phone is unlocked, you have to navigate to the phone app, correct?
This is what an expert criminal defense lawyer does. The witness says, I just butt dialed. Okay, moving on to the next question. No. You butt dialed. Okay. In order to make a phone call, you need to, and then you break it down step by step. You have to unlock your phone. How do you unlock it? Face? Does your butt have a face? Does your face look like your butt? Well, maybe in this case, that's an exception. But does your phone have a passcode? Maybe. Okay, so you have to type in the passcode to unlock it before you make the call. Then you have to open the phone app. Then you have to dial the number. Then you have to hit. So your butt is like, while you're sleeping, your butt is performing, 52 actions in order to get to the actual connection of the call with the other person on the other line.
I don't know necessarily if you unlocked it with your face, if it would be right there. I've never thought about it.
Once you unlock that phone app, you have to manipulate the phone on the
I've never thought about it. So the answers I already prepared in my head to these types of questions, I actually didn't think about these questions. That's good lawyer work, catching the witness off guard.
screen with your finger in order to make a call, correct?
You would have to hit at least one button, I guess.
At least one, right?
Yes.
So that's 3 or 4 interactions with the phone that have to be physically undertaken to just make one call, right?
But I didn't make any calls.
So how'd you butt dial?
I didn't make any calls. I have no recollection of any calls, nor did I speak with anybody.
Bald-faced lie.
After you were shown these phone records at that prior hearing, in that hearing at least, you finally admitted that you did in fact call Brian Albert back, but this time you claimed the two of you just sort of sat in silence. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I'm going to sustain it in that form. You can ask it appropriately, Mr. Jackson.
Did you ever
Because this form is a little too inflammatory for me and I don't like it. Make it nicer. What does that even mean?
previously testify that you did in fact make the call, but you did not have a conversation during the course of the call?
What I think I testified was something must have happened, but I didn't have any phone call.
Do you remember being asked, quote, did you call him back, end quote, and you answered, yes. And then there was a question.
There was a series of questions there. That's only a fragment of what I said.
I'm not done yet, Mr. Higgins. Can you answer my question?
Yes.
To the question, did you call him back? Your answer was yes, correct?
I think it was kind of I must have.
Then you were asked, well, the answer was yes, and then there was a colloquy back and forth where you spoke over each other's words, right?
It was dialogue back and forth about this whole thing, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
You see the pink highlighted question and the pink highlighted answer.
Yes.
What's the question? Please read it for me.
Did you call him back?
What's the answer?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
You then said a little bit further in that same conversation, I did not have a conversation, correct?
I did not have a conversation with anybody.
And the question following that was, you just listened to the phone, what someone was telling you? Answer, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything, and then I terminated the call, end quote. That's what you said.
So which one is the lie?
Under oath, correct? Yes or no?
Can I see it?
Sure.
Yeah, here you go. Are you lying now or were you lying then?
You have that in mind, sir?
No. Can I have a minute, please?
Does that refresh your recollection about how you answered that question?
Yes.
And your answer was, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything, and then I terminated the call. That's the only thing.
Meaning it's possible it could have happened.
It's possible it could have happened that you had a 22-second call with Brian Albert,
I
correct?
did not have a 22-second call with Brian Albert. There was no conversation.
You've had some time to think about this 2:22 a.m. call, correct? Since that last testimony.
Some time to think about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about it, no.
So for over a year, you haven't even considered the fact that you were caught with a phone record lying about not having a conversation with Brian Albert at 2:22 in the morning.
Objection.
Jury heard it. Doesn't need
So
an
Higgins,
answer.
what was so important that you and Brian Albert needed to discuss something at 2:22 in the morning?
There was no discussion. I never talked to Brian Albert.
Then why the 22-second phone call, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
I want to talk about what you did after you woke up on January.
Sorry, I just have to say that was masterful. That was absolutely brilliant. When you know that a witness is not responding, you just keep prodding. When you finally get that objection, you move on. But you never know. They may accidentally give themselves away either by mannerisms, by the way that they're speaking, body language, by their words. I mean, Allie McCabe, which by the way, I also plan on covering her cross-examination on this channel. I think it's worth covering because I did get a chance to see it live, but I think you guys are in for a treat. When we actually get to that portion, ooh, oh yeah. Oh yeah, Allie McCabe has almost gave up the whole kitchen sink of her family, and I'm sure she was in trouble for that.
January 29th, 2022. That was obviously a memorable day in your mind, correct?
It was a sad day.
The very first person you spoke to after waking up was who?
Well, I believe I said I got the call from Chief Berkowitz.
That's not my question.
Say that again?
Who's the first person you spoke to on the phone that morning when you woke up?
Brian Albert.
Whose idea was it for you to drive to Brian Albert's house that morning?
It was my idea.
Was it important to you to speak with Brian Albert in person rather than over text or phone call?
No, it was important to support the people that were there.
So, of course, you drove over to his house, had an opportunity to speak to him in person without any law enforcement presence, correct?
I was there with everybody, not just Brian Albert.
And Brian Albert was in the house and you were in the house, right?
That's correct.
So you had access to him and others without any law enforcement there. Is that right?
That's correct.
As soon as you got off the phone with Brian Albert that morning, who did you call? At 7:22 a.m., if you recall.
I think I might have called Chief Berkowitz back.
So as soon as you got off the phone with Brian Albert, first thing in the morning, the next call you made was to Chief Berkowitz. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yes, because he had called me first. Yes, I called him back.
Did you request from Chief Berkowitz any information that he may have had concerning the investigation surrounding John O'Keefe being found at 34 Fairview that morning?
No.
Were you trying to see how much law enforcement knew right away?
Absolutely. I didn't even know what happened.
Were you trying to gather information about what happened so that you would know what happened?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No.
What you were trying to do?
No, Your Honor.
What did Chief Berkowitz tell you about his knowledge of John O'Keefe's body being found just after 6 a.m.?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been with John O'Keefe and you were at the crime scene the night before?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask that differently.
Did you inform Chief Berkowitz that you had been with John O'Keefe the night before?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, that's normal.
I believe I may have told him at some point that I saw John at the waterfall.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been at 34 Fairview?
I believe I did.
Did you tell him that your vehicle was parked just feet away from where John's body was discovered?
No, because I didn't know where he was discovered.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you and Brian Albert had had a call at 2:22 in the morning?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been...
I love Brian Higgins' little frustrated, looking down, because he's shameful. He's admitting shame. He's really, really upset at this whole situation, and it's bothering him, but he knows it. He knows what he's done. He can't hide it.
flirting with John O'Keefe's girlfriend in the weeks prior to his death?
No.
Did you ever tell Chief Berkowitz about the nature of your interest in Miss Reed?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had seen Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed the night before and that Miss Reed had ignored you?
Objection.
Sustained. You can break that down, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may have just a moment. You indicated just a second ago that when I asked, did you tell Chief Berkowitz that your Jeep was parked just feet away from where John O'Keefe's body was found, you said, I have no idea where John O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
That's correct.
You had just spoken with Brian Albert, right?
He said in front of the house.
All he said was, John O'Keefe was found in front of the house. He didn't say, right outside on my front lawn.
I believe he said he was found out in front of his house unresponsive.
Okay. If he was out in front of his house, then you would know, because your Jeep was also parked out in front of his house, that your Jeep would just be feet away from him, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had texted John O'Keefe to have him come over to 34 Fairview just hours before he was discovered dead in the yard?
No.
Did you think any of that was important when talking to the Chief of Police of the Canton Police Department?
I'll let him have it.
I'll let him have it.
No, I didn't. There was no reason to tell him.
You've been an investigator for some 15 years, and you were a firefighter for years before that, correct?
Yes.
You're very familiar with some of the tools that are used in conducting modern investigations, correct?
Yes.
You'd agree that searching electronic devices and phones is an incredibly important investigative tool that modern investigators use, correct?
Objection.
In that form, I'll sustain it.
Are you aware that searching electronic devices is an important part of investigations?
Objection.
Are you aware of that, sir? Do you agree with that?
I've utilized phone data during the course of my investigations at times, yes.
Okay, so another way to put that is obviously phone data and electronic data is an important part of investigation.
Objection.
Sustained.
What time do you believe you got to Brian Albert's house that morning after you received the phone calls and woke up? What time did you make your way back over to Brian Albert's house?
Maybe around 7:15 in that area.
Was there any law enforcement presence there when you arrived?
I can't recall specifically. There could have been one police car. I'm not positive.
Did any officer ever ask you to take a look at your vehicle?
At what time?
That time? But actually at any time?
No, not to my knowledge, nobody from law enforcement associated with the investigation had ever asked to take a look at my vehicle.
So they certainly didn't ask that day, correct? On the 29th?
What I'm saying is, to my knowledge, nobody has ever asked me that.
Right. So that's my point. I'm just trying to break it down.
You want to tell me every instance when somebody could have asked me?
Correct.
Okay.
On the 29th, where you asked whether or not your vehicle could be searched?
Searched or inspected? What do you mean?
Either one.
Well, I would consider a search the inside of the vehicle more so than the outside. I would consider the outside more of an inspection. I would have been happy to show them it.
I'm sure you would have. I'm asking, did they ask?
No.
They didn't ask to search it, they didn't ask to inspect it.
No.
When you met with troopers, who was it that you met with on the 3rd of February?
Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan.
Did either Trooper Proctor or Trooper Buchanan ask to inspect your vehicle, otherwise search it?
Not to my recollection.
And to this day, nobody from Massachusetts State Police has ever indicated that they want to inspect your vehicle.
No.
When you entered the house that morning, Brian Albert was there, Nicole Albert, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Albert Jr., and Julie Albert were all there. I'm sorry, had Julie Albert gotten there yet?
She came after me.
Okay, so at some point, all the people that I just ticked off, they were all inside the house, right?
Brian Albert Jr., Nicole, Brian, Matt, and Jen.
You all discussed the incident together, correct?
I wouldn't describe it that way, no.
Did each of you discuss your own perspectives about what had happened the night before in the early morning hours?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
People were in shock at the table, trying to figure out what happened. The math didn't make sense. John and the defendant never showed up. People were in shock.
Trying to figure out what to say, right?
No.
And you were all talking within earshot of each other, right?
We were all there in the kitchen talking together.
This is Alan Jackson trying to get, he knows he's not going to get an admission, but at least, at the very least, maybe he can get some sort of telltale sign from Brian, because everybody knows by now, on the defense team, on Karen Reed's side, that there was some discussion between the Alberts, the McCabes, Brian Higgins, and a few other players of how they're going to paint the story, because their stories have to be consistent with one another. They had to have a powwow because things are fresh. We don't know who the lead investigator on this case is going to be. Now, they luck out eventually because Trooper Michael Proctor gets assigned to the case, and they're like, oh, thank God, one of our own is on this. Like, we're free and clear, folks. But we still have to keep our stories straight, because if you did not watch the series that I released on Trooper Proctor, the link is in the description below. And oh my God, folks. And Jennifer McCabe and Matthew McCabe as well are all in the description below. And I'm going to be adding more stuff. Like I said, we're going to be adding Trooper Yuri Buchanan. We're going to be adding Trooper Paul. People really want me to do Trooper Paul, so I'm going to do it. And of course, Allie McCabe. And let me know in the comments below if there's anybody else that you think is relevant, highly relevant enough to this case that should have an honorable mention, because we do have a lot of witnesses. I mean, I could go through grilling the expert witnesses. I don't know if it's beneficial to do so, but you tell me. You tell me. I mean, my time, of course, is also limited. We have very limited time leading up to the trial that is going to start in less than 2 weeks in Massachusetts. Trial number 2, April 1st is the start date. There has been absolutely zero intention by Auntie Bev that she is going to move that trial date to a later date. So there you have it. But back to Brian Higgins. So Brian Higgins himself has kind of indicated, and he's trying to kind of massage, well, we got together, we were all in shock and all that. Probably what happened is they were trying to gather to make sure that all of their stories align. You know what I mean? All of their stories match, so there are no gaps like where were you and where were you. John never went in the house. We can all agree on that. John never went in the house. Not he was there for a little bit, because then, boom, they can nail us on stuff like, why didn't you investigate inside of the house, Mr. Proctor? Because I can't call him Trooper anymore, honestly. And there was a hearing, for those of you who may have missed it, March 13th, there was a hearing, and Trooper Proctor's third disciplinary hearing, they keep rescheduling them, they keep holding them as they get more and more information, and it's very possible that he may not be a trooper by the time that he has to testify in this trial. But we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't really predict the future. I don't know what the disciplinary board is going to do. And I don't think he's going to be able to wear his uniform. I mean, he didn't really wear his uniform in the first trial either. They all were wearing their suit and ties, which kind of makes sense because they're, acting in like a detective capacity. And I think Lally was preemptively striking, like, in case any of you lose your jobs. So it doesn't look weird that we have 5 officers showing up in uniform and then like 1 or 2 showing up in suit and ties. How about everybody just wear a suit and tie just to be safe? So if everything goes down and everybody loses their job, at least you can still testify. You can still testify. And, the fact that you lost your job, don't worry. Alan Jackson will ask you that on cross-examination. Just admit it. Yeah, I moved on to do better things. Well, maybe I was disciplined a little bit because of the inappropriate texts that I had about Karen Reed to my colleagues. No big deal. It's heinous what these people are doing and what they're capable of. But here we are. So, back to Brian Higgins.
At this meeting, and these were friends and family, correct?
Excuse me?
These were friends and family amongst themselves, and you being a friend. These are friends and family inside that house discussing this incident, correct?
Yes.
So at this meeting, you actually instructed Jennifer McCabe to call Canton PD and ask someone to come back.
Objection.
Sustained as to that form, you can ask it differently.
At some point, did an officer come back to re-interview Jen McCabe?
Yes.
Jen McCabe had told you that she had information about something that Miss Reed had said, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Did she tell you that morning?
She didn't specifically tell me anything. She made a statement at the table to the group of people and she clearly seemed like she was in shock. She was upset. And she made a statement, something to the effect that Karen had opined that she had hit John.
What she actually said was, I hope I didn't hit him, correct?
Objection.
It's not what I heard. No.
That'll stand.
Who did you ever tell this to?
I've reported that.
That she said, I hit him?
Yes, I've reported it.
What you reported was Karen said, I hope I didn't hit him, and you said, oh, you need to tell Canton PD that. Isn't that right?
No, I don't think that's what I said. No.
You're as sure about that as you are about that 222 call, right?
Objection.
Mr. Higgins, what time did you leave Brian Albert's house?
It would have been, I believe, when Sergeant Lank arrived, and I think Lieutenant Gallagher might have been with him.
You weren't scheduled to work that Saturday, correct?
No.
Matter of fact, you weren't on duty at all.
No, I
right?
wasn't.
But you didn't go home and get some sleep or run errands. You went directly to Canton PD from 34 Fairview yet again, didn't you?
Who could sleep after somebody just was discovered like that?
Did you go home? Or did you?
I don't believe I did, no. I believe there might have been a stop at Canton PD before I went home.
As a matter of fact, you didn't just stop at Canton PD. You spent the entire day at Canton PD on the 29th, didn't you?
I don't know that I spent the entire day there, no.
Well, you've got a key card, right?
I do have a key card.
And that key card logs swipes.
That's correct.
So it logs where you go, access to, and access inside the
Yes.
Canton PD, correct?
Yes.
When you got
It's
to
getting
Canton PD,
uncomfortable.
and you're telling this jury you don't know how long you spent there.
I don't know how long I spent there. I don't know if I left and I came back. I don't recall.
So if the records indicate that you were there from 9 a.m.-ish, after 5,
I don't know how the records would indicate that.
I'll show you in a second.
Okay.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak again to Brian Albert?
I don't remember.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak again to Chief Berkowitz?
Most likely.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak with Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert?
I don't believe so.
Your Honor, may I approach briefly?
Yes.
I don't remember if Alan Jackson has the keycard logs
Yes.
from Canton PD
Thank you.
with reference to Brian Higgins.
7-page document, just take a glance through. Obviously, don't read the whole thing, just glance through it and tell me if you recognize what that is.
So it says Canton Police, all events logged by date.
So don't read it out loud, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your
Just,
Honor.
do you
Yes,
recognize
I do.
it?
Okay.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
This appears to be a log of key swipes in and around
Yeah, that's right.
Canton PD, correct?
Yes.
And it's in reverse chronological order, in other words.
I didn't note that, but okay.
Okay. You acknowledge that that is a record of the key swipes that everybody uses moving in and around Canton PD, going through doors, every place that needs a key swipe is logged.
I would assume that's what that is, yes.
All right. It shows that you entered Canton PD for the first time on the 29th at 1:27 a.m. Does that sound about right? When you got there, you say to move your cars.
It's possible.
All right. It shows that you were granted access to floor corridor 227. Does that mean anything to you?
No.
What about floor corridor 226 on the second floor?
Second floor would make sense because I went in the building and then to the second floor.
You can feel the tension.
Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
You can cut the air with a butter knife.
By the way, did Brian Albert ever mention what time the officers cleared the scene?
No.
Without telling me the substance of the conversation, did he tell you when he talked to you at 7:20 or?
Not that I recall, no.
But you remember by the time you got there, the scene had basically been cleared. There wasn't a bunch of emergency vehicles, crime scene tape, nothing like that.
I didn't see fire trucks. I might have saw a cruiser. I can't be sure. I don't recall.
You're not sure about that either.
Sorry, I'm
Not
not
sure about even seeing a cruiser, correct?
100%, no.
Certainly were not contacted by a law enforcement officer who took your name and ID or anything like that.
No.
Parked and walked in the house.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach one more time?
Yes.
Lally looks
I'd
very...
like to have that document marked as next in order, Bates pages. It represents Bates pages 2850 to 3016.
All right, so marked for identification. Is there an agreement this is coming in, Mr. Lally?
There is not, no.
All right, so that's marked for identification, not next in order.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Mr. Higgins, if you will, I'm sorry, are we ready? Thank you. May I proceed?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, if you'll look at Bates page 3015, which actually is in order. That's not reverse chronological. It's the second to the last page.
I have it.
And you take a look at the 8th entry from the bottom.
I see it.
Does that indicate that this all occurred on 1/29/22? This entry at least?
Well, I mean, I only, on that 8th entry, I see that that's associated with my name. I don't know what the other ones are associated with.
Right. It would be other individuals in Canton PD. I mean, this is the entire log for 129, right?
Okay, but what all I'm saying is that just my name is next to that. I don't see any other names, so.
Right.
Okay.
So on 1/29/2022, I'm just trying to orient you. At 127 and 52 seconds,
I see
access
it.
granted, Brian Higgins, rear entry to secure corridor, rear entry to secure corridor, correct?
Yes.
All right, so that appears to be what the log entry or the key swipe entry looks like when it's logged, correct?
Yes.
If you look at page 2967, I'm sorry, I said it backwards, 2976.
Okay.
Take a look at
So you said
time.
2976?
That's Bates page 2976. That's the bottom right-hand
I
page.
see it, yes.
Look at the time entry for 9:23 and 39 seconds.
923 and what?
39.
And that's on 2976?
Should be.
Give me the time again, please.
Why don't we do it this way? May I approach?
Yes.
This is an exact copy.
Just show him.
This time's all over the place. My
Either he
apologies.
seriously can't
Okay.
find it or he's
All
just
right,
playing
thank you.
games. We don't know. I think he's just trying to make Alan's job a lot
At
more.
9:23:39, I'm sorry,
it
if you
is.
got that in mind?
I do, I see it. It's highlighted.
At 9:23:39, that shows that you were granted access to the Sallyport to front exit, front entry to Sallyport, correct?
Yes.
There's only one Sallyport at Canton PD, correct?
Yes, and there's a door on each side of the Sallyport. Yes.
2 bay doors, right?
2 bay doors on each side,
And
yes.
then there's a
Pass through,
personal pass-through door as well.
yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I want to try to speed this up just a bit because it's small print, reverse chronological order. On page 2976, there's also an entry, same page, should be right above that, 92350, showing that you were granted access from booking to Sallyport as well, correct?
Okay, 2976, and what was the time?
Page,
Yes,
it's about maybe 6 entries above, 6 entries up. You'll look for time 9:23 and 50 seconds.
Here we go with the sirens again.
yes.
All right, and that shows that you were granted access to the Sallyport and then from Sallyport to booking, correct?
It says booking to Sallyport, Sallyport to booking.
Okay, so that's a key swipe. You either entering into the Sallyport from booking or from booking into the Sallyport.
Yes.
It's been a theme. It's been thematic throughout the entire trial. This is not an isolated incident, folks, by any stretch of the imagination. The entire trial, we have heard these sirens periodically. That's a fire truck. That unmistakable siren of a fire truck.
Okay. May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
That indicate, I have no idea what the last question was. I'll see if I can make a new one up. At 9:23 and 50 seconds in the morning, you were granted access booking to Sallyport and Sallyport to booking, meaning swiped the key card in the door going from booking to Sallyport.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to belabor this because we could get bogged down into it all day long. Would you have any quarrel if those logs indicated that you were moving in and around Canton PD at 9:28, 9:53, 9:53, 9:54, 9:54, 11:40, etc.? We can look at every one of them if you want to.
Well,
That doesn't refresh your recollection.
it would not be uncommon for me to move around Canton PD at various times or dates.
Right.
middle of the night, during the day. But just because I swiped in somewhere, and then you have a swipe at the end of the day, doesn't mean I was there the whole day. I could have left, I could have come back, and I truly don't have a recollection, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't there all day.
Fair enough. If we moved from 11:40 to 11:44, 11:45, 11:47, 11:51, 11:52, and then jump to 2:05, would that be an explanation where you might have gone out for lunch, 11:52?
Could have.
Okay, come back. If
Yes.
there's a 2:05 and 56 entry, then obviously you're there, right?
If the card was swiped, I was there.
I mean, you're not giving that card to anybody else.
No, I'm not.
No way, right? Let's just look at 2905, because I want you to be comfortable. Page 2905, and let's look at that 205.
And that's great lawyer work, because I think an inexperienced attorney would have started going through every single one, and the jury's going to start falling asleep. And that's the last thing that you want, especially when you're trying to hammer home a very important point. Obviously, Alan Jackson is not doing this for nothing. He's doing this for a very specific reason. He's trying to show the jury that Brian Higgins was there during specific times, and he was there longer than maybe one might anticipate. Like, why are you spending all day at Canton PD? That might be suspicious. Alan Jackson is going in a very particular direction, okay? By shaving off the time, just saying, there's no reason for you to argue if I were to tell you that your card was swiped here, 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 and here, because you don't give your card to anybody else. Correct. Okay, fantastic. Now they can move on without having to waste any more time.
I'm at 2905. Where would you like me to look?
About right there. Basically middle of the page. May I approach? This might be a little easier. Highlighted for you.
I see it.
Okay. So that would indicate that you were back at Canton PD at least 2:05:56, and you were granted access Sallyport to front door, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay. At 3:10 p.m., you called Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert, correct?
I don't know. It's possible.
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember every phone call I made that day.
Understood. Do you remember talking to Kevin Albert?
I don't.
So you don't remember what you discussed with him?
No.
Do you remember that it was a 12-minute phone call?
No, I don't remember having any phone call, but I'm sure it's possible that we spoke.
Do you remember?
For 12 minutes? You speak to a guy for 12 minutes and you don't remember? Folks, come on. That is ridiculous.
Remember Kevin Albert providing you any information about the ongoing investigation into John O'Keefe's death?
No.
Did you ask him about additional information concerning John O'Keefe's death?
No.
Were you providing details back to Brian Albert that you were receiving while at Canton PD?
Absolutely not, no.
Do you recall that 2 minutes after you cleared the call with Kevin Albert, you then called Brian Albert?
It's possible.
So I think the question was, do you remember? Do you remember that?
Your Honor, there was a lot of phone calls made that day. It was an upsetting day. I spoke to multiple people at multiple times. I don't have a recollection. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Such an evasive answer. He knows exactly who he was talking to. He just doesn't want to get caught in the act. Because he knows it's going to be used against him. Because his hands are dirty.
May I approach briefly?
Yes.
Just to close this loop, that appears to be your phone record, correct?
Yes.
And it appears that you made a call at 3:10 for 12 minutes with Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes.
3:10 plus 12 was 3:22, correct?
Yes.
You had cleared the call about 3:22, is that right?
Yes.
And then it shows a 3:24 phone call to Brian Albert then calls you at 3:24, correct?
Yes.
And you two speak for 6 minutes, is that right?
6 minutes, 5 seconds, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
That's a total of
Does that refresh your recollection that you made those calls?
18 minutes.
Based on the record, yes.
And this day was so stressful to you, which, okay, granted, sometimes stress, you can forget things, but usually when in immense amounts of stress, emotions tie into your memory, right? So events that happen in high states of emotion, you are more likely to remember them. than you are to forget them. And he's saying in this heightened state of confusion and emotionality, heightened emotionality, he was just, I have no idea. We spoke for 18 minutes and I don't remember a single second of that conversation. Really? Oh, really? Okay, bud, let's keep going, shall we?
Was that just a coincidence that you were talking to Brian Albert and Kevin Albert within minutes of one another?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on that day. People were upset, and I don't remember the phone calls.
2 Alberts, 18-minute span. He has no idea.
I don't deny making the phone calls. I just don't remember them.
Do you remember providing information that you were learning from Kevin Albert to Brian Albert?
Absolutely not.
What scares me the most, folks, is how professional of a liar this man is. How you can just lie straight through your teeth and say, absolutely not, like you're just taking a sip of water. Those people terrify me, folks. That's a sociopath. That is a straight-up sociopath.
If you look just below those phone calls to Kevin Albert and Brian Albert, there's 2 additional phone calls that you had with Chief Berkowitz and then Brian Albert again, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, it looks an awful lot like you're gleaning information from Canton PD. Were you doing that?
Objection.
So I sustain the objection in that form. You can ask one part of that question.
Sure. Were you getting any information from Canton
Sorry, I'm
PD?
allergic to bullshit.
No, I wasn't.
Did you provide any information to Brian Albert
No, I did not.
based on any conversations or conduct at Canton PD?
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
But you were, in fact, on the phone with all of those interested parties throughout the day, you'll agree.
I was.
Answer that.
Did you see how he looked at the judge like, do I have to answer that? Oh, okay.
There's
Yes,
no
Your Honor.
objection. You can answer it.
Yes, they're friends, and I was on the phone with them. Yes.
And sir, you were not on duty that day, correct?
No,
You are not a Canton police officer, correct?
that's correct.
You were not assigned to this investigation in any formal capacity, were you?
I was not.
As a matter of fact, you're a witness in a homicide investigation. That's your only role in this, correct?
That's correct, but they're still my friends.
And
Yes.
yet you're still having conversations with Kevin Albert at Canton PD while you're at Canton PD, correct?
Not about this.
And you're having conversations with Chief Berkowitz
Friends
of
talking.
Canton PD while you're at Canton PD, correct?
I had conversations with them, but not about this.
And
No.
you're consistently through the day calling Brian Albert, aren't you?
I had conversations with Brian Albert. John was found on his lawn. Yes, of course, I had phone conversations with him.
I want to take you back for a second to a couple of other Sallyport entries, including one at 3:57.
By the way, what was that coughing in the courtroom? Was that stop offering additional information cough? Keep it short, keep it simple, just answer the question being asked. Do not volunteer any additional information. Cough, cough. Remember what we talked about, Brian. Remember the powwow we had, or multiple powwows at that point. Cough, cough, cough. It's a reminder. It's a trigger. Who knows? You be the judge. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.
And one at 4:07. I'm going to draw your attention to 2885 and 2886. Once you have the pages, I'll give you the times once again.
2885.
2885 and 2886. We'll start with 2886 and then work backward.
Okay.
First entry is at 3:57 and 54 seconds.
.357 and 54 seconds, I see it.
Brian Higgins booking to Sallyport, correct?
It says Brian Higgins, communication to pedestrian Sallyport, communication to pedestrian Sallyport.
Look at the one just above it. That's 3:58:24. Look at 3:57:54. Or the one, it probably is going to be just below it because it's reversed.
You said 3:57:54, correct?
Correct.
That's what I just read.
Got it. Look at 6 entries below at 3:57:36.
35736. I see it. Access granted, Brian Higgins. Booking to Sallyport, Sallyport to booking.
Then there's one more on page 2885. Look for 40747.
$407.47.
Correct.
I have it. Access granted, Brian Higgins. Booking to Sallyport, booking to Sallyport.
And there's no record in that document of you exiting, correct? That's just booking to Sallyport.
Yes. I don't, yeah, there's no record. I don't know if it
That's all-
records you
that's all
going
that-
up.
you
That's
answered my
fine.
question. There's no record of it, correct?
Not that I can see here, no. I'm sorry.
And you're aware that that's about 90 minutes before Karen Reed's SUV was delivered to that Sallyport, correct?
No, I'm not aware of that.
You're aware that her car ended up in that Sallyport where you were at 5:36.
I'm aware her car ended up there, yes.
Are you aware that there was other evidence that was also being held in the Sallyport?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you see any other evidence in the Sallyport related to this case?
No.
Did you see a bag, grocery bag with 6 solo cups there?
Objection.
Did you see anything that seemed out of the ordinary there?
All I would do is use that as a cut through. I did not see anything.
Are you aware that at 5, well, let me ask you this. You and Chief Berkowitz were moving in and through, at least in some parts of the day, in and through Canton PD together, correct?
At some points, we might have been together. I'm not, I mean, we weren't together all day.
Matter of fact, he was also in the Sallyport around the same time you were, correct?
I don't recall that, no.
But the records would reflect that, correct? The records that are in front of you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were in the Sallyport the last time you're logged into the Sallyport, it's 4:07. Do you remember seeing Chief Berkowitz at the Sallyport at 4:14?
No, and if that says that I'm logged, that could be me cutting
Mr.
through.
Higgins, all I'm asking you, I'm not asking you what you did. I'm asking you where you were.
I don't know where I was at that specific time.
Well, you walked into the Sallyport, we know that,
If I walked in, I
correct?
cutting through, yes.
Right. Was Chief Berkowitz in the Sallyport at 4:14?
Not that I recall, no.
Was he there at 4:30?
I don't remember ever seeing him in the Sallyport, no.
Was he there at 4:33?
I don't remember ever seeing Chief Berkowitz in the Sallyport.
At 4:50?
Objection.
Sustained. Let's move through this, please.
Finally, was he there at 5:36 and 37 seconds at the
Auntie Bev is getting very uncomfortable because she sees, again, Alan Jackson is on the precipice. This has happened so many times, and this is just one witness. If you've been watching this whole series, if you have not checked out the other series of Trooper Proctor and Jennifer McCabe, and I'll also be creating a Yuri Buchanan that will eventually be in the link in the description below, and Allie McCabe, Trooper Paul, those will all be added. It's like a theme. Anytime Alan Jackson is on the verge, on the precipice, on the cusp of uncovering something, Auntie Bev is like, come, move it along, move it along. I'm not interested. This is not interesting to me. This is not interesting to the jury. Yes, it is! What are you talking about? This is very interesting stuff. Not to the judge. I wonder why.
At the same time Karen Reed's vehicle was delivered?
I don't remember.
Do you remember Chief
Lot of tension.
Berkowitz, or were you with Chief Berkowitz when he made a call to the front desk?
No, I don't remember anything like that, no.
Do you remember Chief Berkowitz calling the front desk at 5:42 and saying, shut the barracks?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you remember any kind of call shutting the barracks, meaning shutting the Sallyport?
Objection.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember anything like that, Your Honor.
I don't remember anything. Anything that Lally had asked me previously, the prosecutor. Oh yeah, this. Mr. Jackson, hey, do you remember this? No. Do you remember that? No. Do you remember this? No. Do you remember doing that? No. Do you remember talking to this person? Absolutely not. Do you remember making that phone call? I never made that phone call. Did you talk to them for 22 seconds? I never made that phone call. Did you make that phone call? No, I must have butt dialed. So your phone answered on its own? I don't think that phone has that functionality. Like, it's just... There is no straight answer from this man on cross-examination. On direct examination, all day, every day. On cross, it's like, I don't remember. I don't recall. That never happened. Nope. Ugh. Cops, man. And I'm sorry. I know there's a few good ones out there. I know. And you know who you are, and God bless you. You're very few and far in between. You're a rare breed. But for the most part, it's either this or something similar to this. And you believe me, I am a practicing attorney. I have clients who call me every day, multiple times a day, telling me what police did to them. You really think every single one of them is making it up? I mean, sure, some of them might exaggerate of what happened. Everybody exaggerates, especially when they're in a stressful situation and want a lawyer to rescue them. But you really think every single one? Of course not. I've cross-examined guys like him on the witness stand. I know what they're capable of. I know the kind of level of debauchery and lies that they are able to create and the web of lies that they weave in order to convict. There is no justice in the world. There is no justice. There is only victory. Victory or bust. They want to win. They want to win this case, and they're doing everything in their power to try and convict this poor innocent woman.
Close to 6 p.m., isn't that right?
I don't know what time I left.
Could it have been 5:50, 6 o'clock?
I don't recall what time I left.
You're aware that there's video surveillance feeds in the Sallyport garage, correct?
That's correct, yes. Around the building.
Were you in the Sallyport at 5:36 when the car was delivered?
I don't have any recollection of that, no.
It's one thing to say I don't remember. It's another thing to say, no, I was not there.
I don't remember being there, no.
Is it possible that you could have been there when that car was delivered?
I don't believe I was, no.
You don't believe you were?
I don't believe I was, no.
You're aware that the video surveillance feed from the Sallyport garage at or around 5:36, the precise time when the car was delivered, it's just missing, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you receive a flurry of phone calls from Brian Albert and Chief Berkowitz indicating that some taillight pieces or a taillight piece had been recovered at 34 Fairview later that evening?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you receive a call at all, without telling me what the conversation consisted of, around 6:12 p.m. from Brian Albert?
I don't recall.
I don't know what day you're referring to.
The 29th.
Oh my God.
No, I don't remember any phone calls like that.
There it is.
Do you remember 3 minutes later getting another call from Chief Berkowitz at 6:16 p.m. that lasted about 5 minutes and 15 seconds?
No.
Oh, he remembers. He remembers. That was the look of remembering, if I've ever seen one. That was him going, oh yeah, I remember that. But he's lying. No, I don't remember.
You look at the entries for 6:12, 6:16. See if that refreshes your recollection.
Are you referring to the...
6:12 and 6:16.
Okay, I see those, yes.
There was a call at 6:12 that Brian Albert made to you for a duration of 1 minute and 7 seconds, correct?
Yes.
Then right after that, there was a call from Chief Berkowitz to you at 6:16 that lasted 5 minutes and 15 seconds, correct?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
They telling you that
Look at how tense he is. I know we've talked about this before, but like, look at how furrowed his eyebrows are. Like he is in a constant, almost like a constipated state of being. Like his eyebrows are furrowed. He's constantly squinting, and everything about his face shows an immense amount of stress. A witness who is testifying truthfully should not experience this level of stress, folks. A witness who is telling exactly what happened and how it happened is not going to have their body going into like a defensive mode, make sure that they answer everything correctly, lest they be damned. And that's not normal. That is not normal. I don't know if I've ever seen that kind of level of stress in witnesses other than this trial, honestly. That's crazy.
Your testimony is that you don't recall the substance of those conversations at 6:12 and 6:16.
I don't, no.
Isn't it true that you were asked about those phone calls at another hearing?
I might have been, I don't recall.
And did you testify at the other hearing that, in fact, what was discussed was the substance of the taillights being found at the location?
No, that's not what that was in reference to.
Notice how Alan Jackson, this is a very common defense tactic. He doesn't care about the answer. He cares about the question. He wants the jury to hear the question that's coming out of his mouth, because you are the one testifying, not the witness. Excellent work.
Were you being provided information from your friend, Chief Berkowitz, about the progress of the investigation?
No,
Were you providing your friend, Brian Albert, information about the progress of the investigation or what you perceived it to be?
no, I didn't have any information on the investigation.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
You were not interviewed about this case in any formal capacity until 5 days later, correct?
That sounds about right.
February 1st, Trooper Proctor?
I'm not exactly sure the date, but it was several days after, yes.
I'm sorry, I said February 1st, maybe it's
I don't-
February 3rd.
I don't know the date, but we were into February.
Where did that interview take place?
Sharon, Mass.
I'm sorry?
Sharon, Mass.
At what location?
Sorry?
What location?
Objection.
I'll see counsel very quickly at sidebar.
The interview was not at the police station.
It was not, no.
And by the way, the sidebar with Auntie Bev, I think she wanted Alan to kind of limit his questioning. There are certain areas that I think she was afraid that Alan was going to go in, and Alan really needs to go in, and she knows it. So just a total conjecture, because I have no idea what they talked about. Even when you're sitting in the courtroom, which I had the luxury of doing, I can tell you that it's very hard to hear. So the microphones are definitely not going to pick it up. But I can tell you that even if you're sitting in the box where Karen's family sits, that's where I sat. Obviously, I'm not going to sit with the O'Keefe family. They never invited me, and I highly doubt they ever will, which is fine. I don't want them to either. You can't hear it. You can't hear what they're saying. So this is total conjecture, but let's see where this is going.
With Trooper Proctor, you had already had numerous conversations with Brian Albert. Is that safe to say?
Well, the interview was with both Trooper Proctor, Sergeant Buchanan, and of course I've talked to Brian Albert because of what took place.
Higgins, that was a yes or no question.
Yeah, of course I've talked to him, yes.
Okay, and the answer is yes, right? Can we agree?
The answer is yes.
Thank you. By the time you spoke with Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan, you had already had numerous conversations with Chief Berkowitz, correct?
Yes.
You had already had numerous conversations with Kevin Albert.
Yes.
You had already had this meeting with the Alberts and the McCabe's over at 34 Fairview. Is that right?
I went to the house.
And discussed this case, as you earlier described in your testimony.
I discussed what we were trying to figure out what happened.
You discussed this case, Mr. Higgins.
Well, at that point, it wasn't a case.
Okay, I'm not parsing words about what a case is versus a matter versus an issue. You understood my question, didn't you?
Yes.
Is there a reason you don't want to answer that question?
I don't have a problem.
Objection, Your Honor.
Is there a reason, or why don't you go ahead and explain?
Well, I feel he's trying to make it sound like something it wasn't.
He's trying to make it sound like he's trying to make us look guilty, Your Honor. I don't like it. Make him stop.
To make it sound like anything, sir, I'm asking a question. Had you discussed this case or the issues surrounding this case with those folks?
I did discuss things when I went back to the house, yes.
And that was before you met with Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You had already spent an enormous amount of time at Canton PD. We've just gone through those records. Is that right?
I have been at Canton PD, yes.
And you had been able to talk to, you had access at least to all the officers, correct?
What do you mean by, can you
Anybody that was coming and going at Canton PD.
access for what purpose?
Just to walk by them, to hear what they were saying, see what they were doing.
Yeah, it's not what I was doing, no.
I'm not accusing you of doing anything. I'm saying you had access to the individuals within
I'm not accusing you. Then why do you look so guilty?
PD, correct?
To interact if needed, yes.
And very obviously, you had access to the Sallyport.
Had access, yes, and that's a cut through I used all the time.
And anything that was in it. Correct?
I wouldn't need anything in it.
It was only after all that that Michael Proctor thought that you were worthy of a conversation.
Objection.
I'll rephrase it. It was only after all of that that you were interviewed by Michael Proctor and Trooper Buchanan, correct?
I wasn't interviewed to the following days, that's correct.
That's important.
At some point on February 4th, Chief Berkowitz called you to personally inform you that he had personally found taillight at 34 Fairview. Is that right?
He did tell me that, yes.
And to be clear, that's the same Ken Berkowitz that you were with in the Sallyport.
I don't recall being in the Sallyport with him, no.
Right. What did you do with that information when you learned from Chief Berkowitz that he personally saw a taillight piece as he drove by?
I didn't do anything with the information.
Did you call Brian Albert?
No, Brian Albert called me.
You were asked a specific question in the other proceeding in June of 2023, correct?
I don't know if it was the specific question. I was asked a series of questions on how the phone calls came in. That's what I was asked.
And your answer was, it's 100% probable that I told him about that, meaning I told Brian Albert about my conversation with Ken Berkowitz, correct?
It's possible.
Was that your statement or not?
It was my statement then, but I've thought about it, yes.
And you've changed your statement somehow?
I don't know if I changed my statement, but I think the way the phone calls came in is Brian Albert told me, you're not going to believe what was found on the front lawn. And then I believe Ken Berkowitz told me he found the taillight, and I'm referring to the taillight from the both of them. I didn't provide any information to anybody.
Well,
information was provided to me.
What you actually said was, it's 100% probable that I told him about that. Yes, 100%. I'm not hiding that fact. But you're asking me if I recollect specifically. I know I called him after
Objection,
that
Your Honor.
call.
All right, so,
It's previous testimony.
oh, so,
Sure. You said, yes, 100%, correct?
In that testimony, I did, yes.
And then in that testimony, you went on to say,
Oh, so today's testimony is going to be different? What are you implying, buddy?
I'm not hiding that fact. But you're asking me if I recollect specifically, correct?
I don't have it in front of me. That's what you're telling me.
You went on to say, I know I called him after that phone call, correct?
I don't know.
Show him, Alex.
And you went on to say, if that's when Chief Berkowitz told me listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this, end quote. That was your statement.
Objection.
Prior hearing, correct?
so I'm going to strike the end part.
Your Honor, may I?
Yes.
You said you don't recall that entire testimony, right?
Not that portion, but I know I was asked about how the phone calls came in and what was said.
Do you think it would refresh your recollection to see a transcript of your answer?
Is this it right here?
That's it.
I'm going to read it.
Looks like it
Does
is.
that refresh your recollection to what your testimony was under oath in June of 2023?
I do.
And you said, if that's what Chief Berkowitz told me, listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this, correct?
That was the statement I made, yes.
Why did you say, listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this?
Objection.
Why'd you say that?
Because I felt they were being accusatory, and I was trying to explain what was going on. And what I had said over that was, I believe what I said, something to the effect, I can't be 100% positive. And then when I went on to say, it's probable. but I felt like they were being accusatory, and I was trying to explain how the phone calls came in. I've had time to reflect about it after that, since that testimony, and that information about the taillight that was found was provided by each person. I didn't provide any information to anybody.
Next question.
Thank you. You said, look, I didn't do
I had time to reflect on it means we reconvened and got our stories even straighter since then. Translation.
anything wrong in this because it looks like you and Ken Berkowitz were colluding to provide information to Brian Albert, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct?
Absolutely not correct. That's
And
wrong.
you knew that was going to look like collusion, which is why you said, look, I didn't do anything wrong in this.
Objection.
Objection sustained.
But it's true. Jury heard it.
Mr. Higgins, if you wanted to get rid of, and you've dealt with cell phones and electronic devices in your career many, many times, correct?
Over my career, yes.
You've probably even written search warrants for them, things of that nature, right?
Yes.
If you wanted to destroy evidence on your cell phone, what kind of steps might you take to do that?
Objection.
If you wanted to just
It's a hypothetical. That's why it's objected to. You can't. He's not acting in the capacity of an expert witness, and to ask him a hypothetical question is unfortunately not something that Alan Jackson can do. But it's a cute question. I love the question. It's throwing him off his horse. Although it's so difficult with sociopaths.
get rid of information on your cell phone that would be unrecoverable, what steps might you take?
Objection.
He knows.
Do you know how to get rid of information on your cell phone?
Objection.
That's allowed. You can answer that.
Do I know how to get rid of information? I mean, I think there's different ways. You could wipe your phone.
Anything else?
You could wipe your phone.
Could take
Factory reset.
Factory reset might be one, wiping your phone, taking the SIM card out.
I don't know that the SIM card's going to take information that's on the phone out.
So that might be one avenue. You could break the SIM card in half or snap it, correct?
It could, yes.
You know that the SIM card stores an enormous amount of data that the phone's just a brick, right?
No, I don't know that.
Okay. You could also, if you take the SIM card out, you just get rid of the phone somehow, right? Just destroy it.
Yes.
Might even consult with some kind of an expert to help learn how to permanently erase things from a phone, like a forensics expert, for instance.
Objection.
Sustained.
On Saturday, January 29th, you spent much of the morning at Brian Albert's house, and then the rest of the day variously at Canton PD. You would agree with that, correct?
No, you said I spent much of the morning at Brian Albert's house?
Correct. In other words, you went over there at whatever it was, 7:50, 8 o'clock, something like that, and then until about 9 o'clock.
No, I got over there around 7 o'clock, and I was there less than an hour. I wasn't there most of the day.
Okay,
I never
fair
went back there.
So you spent time at Brian Albert's house, then much of the rest of the day at Canton PD, correct?
Yes,
And then the very next day, that Sunday, you called a friend of yours, a guy named Matt Kelch, didn't you?
yeah, he's my best friend,
And
yes.
he's a special agent with the FBI, isn't he?
No, he's not.
Was he then?
He's never been a special agent with FBI. He's a special agent with ATF.
My mistake. I thought he was with the FBI. He's a
He-
federal special agent,
He's a coworker of mine, yes.
which makes him a federal special agent, right?
An ATF agent, yes.
Answer
And
the question.
Does he work for or have access to the Regional Computer Forensics Lab?
Yes, he works over there.
Okay, that's the FBI Regional Computer Forensics Lab, correct?
Yes.
That's how I got my mistake. I apologize.
Well, I just want to make sure the record's reflected correctly.
You and me both. So you reflected it correctly. So Matt Kelch is an ATF agent who works at the FBI Regional Computer Forensics Lab, correct?
Yes.
And he's an expert in digital forensics, is he not?
He has a level of expertise more than myself,
And
yes.
he's one of your best friends.
He is my best friend.
You spoke to him about the death of John O'Keefe, did you not?
Yes.
And you asked him for a personal favor, sort of off the books, correct?
Objection.
In that form, I'll sustain the
Did you ask him for a personal favor?
No.
Did you ask him to show you or consult with you how to pull things off of your phone that you decide to get off your phone?
I asked him how I could pull text strings off my cellular telephone for the purpose of providing them to law enforcement.
This was not in connection with any case that he was working, correct?
That's correct.
It was not in connection with any case you were working, correct?
Objection.
Oh. Wow. Okay, things are heating up in Kansas, folks. Let's see where this goes.
The answer, though, strike that answer. Second question you can answer. Is this in connection to any case you?
No, Your Honor.
Next question.
But you asked your friend to utilize his resources to teach you how to extract certain information off your phone? Is that what you did?
I asked him if it was possible to get this off, if there was a method to get this off my phone so I could provide it to law enforcement.
And that information was selected by you, correct?
Two particular text threads, yes.
Right. In other words, there was nobody else that was picking and choosing what to get off your phone. That was just you.
It was me, yes.
And the reason you did that, Mr. Higgins, is that you wanted to control and limit the amount of information that was pulled off your phone, right?
Objection.
Is that why you did it?
No, I did it because I wanted to provide it to law enforcement, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
But you could have just provided your phone to law enforcement and let them image the entire thing, correct?
I guess that was an option, yes.
And you knew that was an option at the time. And you're a trained ATF agent.
What's the question?
You knew it was an option to just hand your phone over. Just pick it up and give it to them.
And there was also an option to provide it to them as well.
Right.
Oh, so you'd rather extract it yourself and provide them with select information rather than just giving them your phone because you may have some things on that phone you don't want them to see. We're cherry picking now.
Chose the one that you got to select the information, not the one where they would get everything, correct?
Objection.
There.
Changes to that form.
Did you actually go to the FBI computer forensics lab?
Yes. Let me correct that. I didn't go to the lab itself. I went to a kiosk, what they refer to as a kiosk on the first floor over at FBI.
Okay.
And all local PDs, law enforcement, have access to that.
And that's obviously,
It's an unrestricted area. You can be in there, as I understand it, unaccompanied if you're local law enforcement. It's on the first floor.
that is a federal facility, however.
Yes, it is.
Did you utilize any computer or any data extraction machinery, if you will? A computer or something to extract this data?
Well, it was a machine. I don't know what it's called.
Okay, fair enough. I'll use the word machine. I don't know what it's called either. So you hooked that phone up to a machine, correct?
Yes,
And that machine belonged to the FBI. It didn't belong to you, is that right?
that's correct.
So that was a federal resource, not for anything having to do with any official case that you were working. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I need to see you. I know this is time-consuming, but I need to see you. And Ms. Giannetti, you'll be taking over?
I will, Your Honor.
Okay.
Oh, we got Yannetti now. Yannetti is going to continue the cross-examination of Brian Higgins.
Sir, you provided to investigators what you claim were the complete text exchanges between yourself and Karen Reed and yourself and John O'Keefe, correct?
What I provided was the complete, I let them know that it was a complete exchange between myself and the defendant, and I said that I may have had other text strings at other times with Mr. O'Keefe.
Oh, notice the backtracking, the making sure that, oh, by the way, I provided all of that, but there may be some other stuff.
I'm going to proceed to ask you a series of questions which call for a yes or no answer. Can we agree that you'll answer yes or no to those questions?
If I can answer yes or no to the best of my ability.
Bev was like, never mind. Actually, that's cross-examination. I guess I can't do anything. She wanted to do something. You could clearly tell, but she knows that she couldn't. She tried. You saw her move the microphone. We all saw that.
To the best of my ability, I will.
All right, I'm going to keep the questioning very simple, sir, okay? You did not provide to investigators any other text messages between you and anyone else.
That's correct.
In September of 2022, you were served with a preservation order for your phone, were you not?
Yes.
After September of 2022, you never received anything in writing that canceled or lifted that preservation order, correct?
That's correct.
After September of 2022,
Sirens are back.
you made the decision to dispose of your phone without consulting anybody about the decision to throw out your phone, correct?
So remember this? Remember this moment? I want to hear it again. I want to play it again because I interrupted.
September of 2022, you made the decision to dispose of your phone without consulting anybody about the decision to throw out your phone, correct?
Yes.
Before you threw the phone away, you did a factory reset of it, did you not?
No, I did not.
Well, you've previously testified that you testified in another proceeding on June 1st, correct, of 2023?
Yes.
Prior to that June 1st testimony, you met with some people and gave a statement on May 5th of 2023, did you not?
I did meet with them. I don't know if that was the date.
Okay. It was prior to June, correct?
Yes.
All right. May 5th doesn't sound wildly inaccurate, does it?
No.
And when you met with those people on or about May 5th, we'll say, or whatever date it was prior to June 1st of 2023, you told them that you did a factory reset of your phone ending in 5421. Did you not?
I don't recall that. No. I don't recall making that statement.
You don't recall what you said about the factory reset during that interview, we'll call it, in May of 2023, correct?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, that's a gotcha moment. I never performed. Just admit you did a factory reset, man, so we can move on. But now you look like a liar even more to the jury. What are you doing, man? What a dumbass. If he has already testified to this, if he has already said previously, and there's a transcript of the recording of him saying it, I performed a factory reset before I destroyed my phone. Why now backtrack on those words? That's called impeachment. That's what Yannetti is doing right now. This is the kind of stuff we're going to see in the second trial, and it's going to be rampant. I predict, mark my words, folks, I predict in the second trial, the likes of Brian Higgins, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, Colin Albert, Matthew McCabe, since Allie McCabe is not going to get called, that's not going to happen. But the big players, all the Alberts, all of the McCabes and Higgins, at the very least, including Proctor and Trooper Paul and Trooper Buchanan, there is going to be so much discrepancy. Somebody in the comments, by the way, on one of the previous videos, I can't remember which one in this series, has commented and said, Jennifer McCabe, the ringleader, they called her, is now, as we speak, having a powwow with all, like they're gathering probably every night at her home, making sure they got their story straight. And I read that comment and I was like, it's not just likely, it's more than probable. It's more than likely. It's probably happening. Yeah. I mean, what a disaster the second trial is going to be for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Having read that document, sir, does that refresh your memory about telling those people in May of 2023 that you did do a factory reset of your phone?
That's not accurate. I did not tell them that. And I also didn't tell them that I saved texts with my father.
All right, so your testimony is that they got it wrong, correct?
My testimony is I didn't make those statements.
Your testimony is that they got it wrong, yes or no?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well, in any case, you took the SIM card out of your phone, correct?
No, what I testified to was that it's...
Did you take the SIM card out of your phone, yes or no?
I don't know.
Did you testify that that's what you do when you get rid of phones, sir?
What I said was that might have been the extent of it if I was to have done that.
And you either cut up the SIM card or ripped it up, correct?
I believe what I testified to was
I'm
I
not
would
asking
have...
you what you testified to. I'm asking you today, did you either cut up the SIM card or rip it up?
cut it up or broke it.
Okay, this is huge. Notice how Yannetti is gaining control of the witness. He started out with, can you answer yes or no? I will try to the best of my ability. Anytime Higgins is trying to throw something in, something extra, something more, something to add, Yannetti pulls him back and says, sir, it's a yes or no question. Now, sometimes he's going to get objected to because maybe the question cannot be answered yes or no. He's going to answer, I don't know, or whatever. That's fine. Lally is free to, it's called rehabilitating the witness. It's a term of art. It's a legal term. Rehabilitating the witness simply means on redirect examination, Lally is going to get back up there and say, okay, Mr. Higgins, on cross-examination, we heard XYZ. Can you please clarify to the jury what exactly did you mean? What exactly happened? Yada. And that's when Higgins can start, whatever pre-memorized script that he has in his mind, and he can start relaying that to the jury, okay? The problem for Higgins is right now he's on cross, and he doesn't have that luxury because each time he's going to try, Yannetti is just going to put an X on it and say, no, sir. I am asking you a very simple question. Can you answer yes or no? And then Higgins is going to be like, well, and that's what Yannetti is going for. He's going for the gullet. Notice how Alan Jackson and him kind of traded places. Yannetti was like, listen, I know you're tired after yesterday, probably, I imagine, between days 17 and 18 of the trial, because I think it was in the same week that Higgins testified. It was at the end of May, if I remember correctly. Yannetti was like, listen, I got this. Let me just take it from here. And Jackson was like, okay, sure. And they traded spots, I think actually Alan Jackson is not even sitting at counsel table. He was probably doing something else that day. So maybe that was it. I don't know. I wasn't there for that portion of the testimony. The point is, this is where Higgins is really in trouble. This is where Higgins is really about to get it. Let's continue.
And you will agree with me that cutting up or breaking the SIM card destroys the SIM card, does it not?
The card itself, yes.
That would have been the purpose in terms of cutting it up or ripping it.
And notice how he can't even answer just yes. The card itself, yes. Like he wants to continue adding more because it dilutes his answer. If he just says yes. And he doesn't want to, he also, it's an ego thing. He doesn't just want to acquiesce to Yannetti's yes, no, yes, no, no, yes, 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 no, 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 yes, yes, no, yes, no. He wants to be like, well, my stuff, yes. My stuff, maybe. My stuff, no. Like, it's a hallmark of a man who is being dishonest. Period, the end.
To destroy it, correct?
Well, so nobody else could use the phone.
Well, that was my next question. But
in another phone.
But the purpose of cutting up or ripping up or the SIM card is to destroy the SIM card, is it not?
Yes.
And you wanted to make sure that somebody couldn't put that SIM card in their phone and potentially access your data, correct?
No, that wouldn't be the reason why.
Okay.
Really?
Well,
do tell, sir.
We already talked about the fact that you testified under oath on June 1st of 2023, correct?
Yes.
And you were under oath when you were testifying on June 1st of 2023, correct?
Yes.
You swore to tell the truth.
Yes.
You raised your right hand.
That's correct.
And June of 2023, June 1st of 2023, was about a year ago, correct?
Yes.
Notice the breakdown. You raised your right hand. Not just saying you were under oath is not enough. You got to get the visual out there. You got to paint the story. You raised your right hand. You swore to tell the truth. Therefore, you were under oath. Yes, yes, yes. Good stuff. Excellent stuff. I love this. Absolutely love this. Yannetti's on fire.
It was about a year closer to your throwing your phone away, correct?
Yes.
And in that testimony that you gave in June 1st of 2023, did you say the following, quote, I made sure that somebody couldn't put it in their phone?
Yes, I did say that.
So why are you denying it now?
In fact, by...
And the pregnant pause, by the way, is for the jury to digest that information, because that's a big one. It's a discrepancy. He's lying.
Either cutting up or ripping up your SIM card, you also knew that that SIM card couldn't be put back in your phone either, correct?
Yeah, I believe that would be correct.
And you'll agree with me that you took that destroyed SIM card and put it in a trash bag, did you not?
I believe it went in a trash bag, yes.
Well, you used a passive voice. It went in a trash bag. Did it fly out of your hand unexpectedly into a trash bag, sir?
No, sir. It would have been disposed of with the phone.
No, I understand. But are you reluctant to say that you put it in a trash bag, sir?
Objection.
Can you answer that? Are you reluctant to say that?
No, Your Honor, I put it in a trash bag.
There you go.
Oh, with my
And
trash.
then you also took your phone, now without the SIM card, and you put that in the trash bag too, did you not?
Yes, sir.
Then you drove to a military base and you threw both the destroyed SIM card and the phone into a dumpster, did you not?
Well, I was cutting through the base, and I believe how I testified
Did you drive
was
to a military base, sir?
I was cutting through a base.
Just
Did you
answer the
drive to
question.
it?
Yes, sir.
And then you put both the destroyed SIM card and the phone itself, which were in a trash bag, into a dumpster on that military base, did you not?
I believe that's what I did, yes.
And as you were driving away, you knew that that destroyed SIM card and the phone would be gone forever, correct?
Yes, I threw it away.
And before you drove away, you did not transfer anything from your old phone to the new phone, correct?
That's correct.
You lost all of your photos on that phone, did you not?
Whatever photos I had on there, I did, yes.
You lost all your videos on that phone, did you not?
To the extent if I had any.
You lost all of your other text messages besides the ones that you had with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, correct?
That's correct.
And you knew that you did have text messages on that old phone with Kevin Albert.
He's a friend, most likely.
You also had text messages on your phone with Nicole Albert.
Most likely, yes.
And you had text messages on your phone with Brian Albert.
Yes.
It was important to you that no one see those text exchanges that you had with those three members of the Albert family.
Objection.
I'll let him have it.
I will let
No,
him.
sir, that's not true.
You took no steps to preserve those text messages, did you?
That's correct.
You did not ask your friend Matt Kelch, the agent, to help you extract those text messages, did you?
That's correct.
So I cherry-picked the exact messages I wanted to relay to the FBI because I'm a law enforcement agent. I'm an ATF special agent. I am going to be perceived as a buddy and a friend. So when I hand over everything and I say that's everything, they're going to trust my word because we've got camaraderie. Thin blue line all the way. Right, Higgins? And then I destroyed the phone so nobody will ever know what exactly was on it. Only what I wanted to spoon feed to the FBI. The rest, gone.
And when you went to that machine, you did not extract them yourself, did you?
He walked me through it. I did do the extraction.
You did not extract the 3 strands of text messages with Nicole Albert, Kevin Albert, and Brian Albert to preserve from that machine, did you not?
No, I did not extract those.
So the only place you knew they existed was on your old phone, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The same phone that you put into a dumpster on a military base with a SIM card removed from the phone and destroyed, correct?
Well, I did throw the SIM card and the phone on the military base.
Right, and the SIM card was destroyed. You've already testified to that.
I said to the extent of if I did that, I would have done that.
And we're talking about the actual phone that would have had your text messages, again, with Brian, Nicole, and Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes, because the motion was denied.
Well, you've already testified, sir, earlier that you never received anything in writing that either canceled or lifted the initial preservation order, correct?
Yep.
That is correct.
So you're in violation of it.
You knew when you were throwing that phone and the destroyed SIM card in the dumpster that from that day forward, no one would ever be able to access the content of what you and Brian Albert had discussed by text messages on your old phone, correct?
Anybody.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Lally?
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable stuff, folks. Unbelievable. There is a recross. So after Lally does his redirect, we have a recross by David Yannetti. So let's dive into that one before we conclude part 11 and we conclude the Brian Higgins series.
Sir, you testified that a prime motivator of you to get rid of your phone was a July 22nd call from a target of an investigation that you were working on.
I never said it was a prime motivator.
Was it a prime motivator?
No, what I testified to was the phone number was what I was concerned about primarily.
Right.
Didn't have anything to do with the phone.
Okay. You did not change your phone number on July 22nd, correct?
July of 2022? Is that what you mean?
The date that you received a call, supposedly, from a target of an investigation you were working on was July 22nd of which year?
So it was, I believe it was July 25th of 2022.
July
I was so
25th.
concerned that I reported it to my supervisor.
Right, but you did not change your phone number after that for quite a while, correct?
I believe it was September.
Okay. So for those months, you kept the same phone number and kept the same phone, correct?
I did.
And September happened to be the month that you received the preservation order from this court, correct?
September of 22, yes.
Right. Now, with regard to the text exchanges that you had with Karen Reed, you testified that you were embarrassed about them.
I wasn't proud of them.
I think your word was embarrassed, correct?
I can agree to that. That's fair.
Well, you already testified to that, right?
I believe that
About
might have
5
been
minutes ago?
might have been a word I used, yes.
And
He is so stressed he doesn't remember what he said 5 minutes ago. Think about that for a second. This is the next day of testimony, so he's not exhausted from like testifying all day. He probably has not slept, if I were a betting man. Unless he like took some really, really serious drugs to knock him out and put him to sleep. Just my opinion.
also explained that you would keep things like that to yourself, correct?
That could be something, yes.
However, you would also agree with me that while they were going on, you told your boss about that text exchange, correct?
Well, I told her about the kiss.
Do you deny telling your boss about the texting that you were doing with Karen Reed?
I don't know if I specifically recall that, no.
But you don't deny it, sir, correct?
It's possible that I told her about that. I'm not going to deny it.
All right. And in any case, those text exchanges were preserved. You preserved those before disposing of your phone, correct?
Correct.
And with regard to the other text exchanges that you did not preserve with the Alberts, including Brian Albert, are you familiar with the term consciousness of guilt, Mr. Higgins?
The objection system.
Consciousness of guilt. My prosecutors in my DUI cases love using that term. It's when you refuse the breath test and they're like, well, you knew you were guilty. That's why you didn't take a breath test, did you? Same thing here. You knew that you're guilty of something and you just didn't want to.
With regard to the date that you changed phone numbers on your phone, you would agree with me that was September 29th of 2022?
When I actually changed the phone number?
That's what I just asked.
Yeah, yes, I also got a new phone, yes.
Okay. September 29th of 2022, you changed your phone number and got a new phone. And then September 30th, the next day, you were served with the preservation order, correct?
I got the preservation order on the 30th. That's correct.
Wow, folks. Absolutely wow. I am so glad that we are finally concluding the Brian Higgins series.